Kicking it with
Yeah.
Matty G.
Matty G, god dang it.
Hey everyone, and a wonderful warm welcome to you beautiful, beautiful people. Tis That Pedal Show VCQ Live. Dan here.
Nick here.
Matt here.
Hey, come on.
Getting there.
So everything's different, right? So let us know if that's causing you problems.
Mick is particularly concerned about the extra bottom end.
Welcome. So we are live from Monty's Guitars in Cheltenham, in Gloucestershire. Here with this is Matt,
Hello.
for those of you who don't know, and this is Dave. And we were supposed to be live last week, but the internet decided it wasn't going to work. So let's see, who have we got on there? Fender 1960 Custom Shop. Hello guys from sunny North Carolina. Nick Harrington from Nanaimo, British Columbia. See, now I think we're probably a bit quiet. You'll have to tell us. Hi from Austin. Looks and sounds great, says Benjamin. Greetings from Tokyo, says Yusato. It's really humid here. Jolly Willard, good morning from Chicago.
Sweet home.
Mark's gas station. Hello. Dan's on the wrong side. I know. It's because if I have to get to any button pressing shenanigan, I can so do. James Blessed is on ABCDEF. My favourite chord progression is on from Germany. Tompa 1900. Greetings from New York City. It's a bit quiet, says Ross Philpott. I thought so too, Ross. So I'm going to turn it up and we'll see how we get on. Bit quiet, but not awful, says Tom. We'll take that. Not awful.
That's always good.
Not awful. Okay. Let's turn it up a bit then. There we go. Let's turn it up a bit. We'll see how we get on with that. And if we need to turn it up some more, we will. So different gear, you see? Different gear. Have a look at the That Pedal Show Instagram if you want to see a little rundown of what the rig comprises for today.
That's very good.
Yeah. Anyway, does everyone know Matt?
Matt, the whole world. The whole world,
Yeah.
Matt.
Hi.
If you don't, please check out montysguitars.com. .com.co.uk?
.com. Yeah, got it already.
Matt does all kinds of awesome things. Perhaps most notably makes pickups.
Yeah, pickups started as a tech, so lots of guitar repairy stuff, bits and bobs.
Who are we checking for?
Take it off. I was one of the stationary techs that based that so people would come off the road, bring me the stuff.
Oh, okay.
So never been, well, no, a couple of mini on the roads, but mainly just at my workbench.
Nice.
Matt also refretted my 61 Strat and
My 65 telly.
65 Telly. There are videos of that on the That Pedal Show YouTube channel.
Oh, Thorpe's on. G'day, mate.
Hello, Thorpe.
Hello, sir.
Now, did I see also that Jake Loosemore is on? Hello, Jake. If you're around this Friday night, next Friday night, in fact, a week on Friday, come to a bar in Exeter. Jake will tell you what it's called, where there will be good music happening, courtesy largely of him, but partly of me as well. David Good is on from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Lovely. James Urquhart says his eldest boy is moving to his own apartment today.
Wow.
It's a big day. Boy, oh boy, mate.
Oh wow.
Yeah, my daughter's off to college, or uni, I should say, in September. And it's not a fun day when they move out.
Right. That's contrary to what I would imagine.
No, it's going to be a really hard day.
Wow.
My niece got married today, and she is the last of the daughters of my sister to move out of home. That's it. They're empty nesters.
Oh my god.
My mum and dad were like, "Get ye gone. Just get out of here.
Sort of drop kick.
Yeah, come on, get out. And get a job."
Yeah. Yeah, mum would be like that.
Marcus Reeves says, "Sounds fine, chaps. Bottom is is all in control.
Oh, good. That's
good,
how we like
good.
our bottoms.
Yeah.
Okay, in which case we should gallop to the super chats that came in last week. We had to abandon last week's show because of poor internet connection. So we've driven 50 miles up the road, so it's a bit better.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so first, some of these will be for Matt, some won't. If they're really, really off topic, we might postpone them until next week and focus more on Matt, seeing as we're in his gaff. But let's see. Matt McGrath is first on. He says, leg ends. I took the collaboration compressor to band practice. Absolutely floored by it. It's the only compressor I've ever gelled with, and it looks cool also. Okay, are we sure this was from last week? I think it was.
That makes thinking noise.
Yes, fill some time, chaps. Well, let's deal with that. He's talking about compressor. So never used the compressor before, and it's the only one he'd ever used. Do you guys use compressors?
I used to use loads of compression, but I haven't lately because I've been running my amps a bit more squidgy.
It's a bit more squidgy. I used it when I was playing live. I'd use it for pretty much all clean stuff. Just have it on. It just keeps everything just nice. I had the Keeley 2 knob one.
Yeah.
Had that for donkey's years.
Awesome with single coils.
Yeah.
That was the compressor to have, wasn't it? For a minute, it was a take on the old Ross compressor, as I remember.
Yeah.
And Matt also says, not sure how accurate the gain reduction gauge is. Yeah, so some compressors, they'll have an LED that will get progressively different coloured, or some other knobs. I guess, like with all of those things, you just got to listen to it rather than be looking at too much, would you say?
Absolutely.
Yeah, always just go with your ears.
Because all that kind of stuff will be frequency dependent as well. So, if it's saying it's bringing down however many dB at this particular ratio, that will sound very different if it's doing that in the bass frequencies than if it's doing it at 3K or 1K. There's very sort of the guitar frequencies that hit you in the ear hole.
Yeah, and if you're blending signal as well, yeah.
And he says, Mick, am I correct in saying you had wanted to start a psychology or philosophy podcast? Yes, you are. It's going to happen. Obviously, I'm not qualified to do it. I'm not a psychology or a philosophy. Actually, I do have some philosophy. Anyway, so it'll be chats with people who've gone through things, who are willing to talk about it, and we'll get into some stuff. Maybe bring in some experts on as well. Although I do have a bit of a problem with experts in general, because they're usually coming from a particular psychological or philosophical point of view, which actually is interesting in itself. Some people will argue one particular approach to something, so maybe that's interesting as long as we make sure we argue the other approach as well. But I don't know, Matt, would you be interested in that?
Oh, hell yeah, that sounds really interesting. We've spoken quite a lot about it. It's the most, once you've got that balanced, then you can sort everything else out. Yeah,
and hopefully it would function as a kind of pointer for people rather than any hard and fast answers, more of a pointer of stuff to... In fact, maybe Dan should be the first guest.
Once you open up that cave, that wormhole, there's no putting it back in the box.
Dandora's box?
Dandora's box. Oh, that's brilliant.
You're welcome.
Dandora the Explorer.
Iron Wolf 1776. He says, I won't be watching live today. I have a medical appointment to attend. It is a bear getting old. The amps get heavier every day. Yeah, hopefully your medical appointment was successful last week and you're on this week having a listen and everything is groovy.
Danich Ivanov says, I like Matt. He's cool.
He certainly is.
Thank you.
Okay, Nona Line's got a question for us all then. Would you rather play a gig with no pedals and a single channel amp, or have all the pedals and amps you want, but a guitar that's missing a string?
Ooh.
Oh, ho, ho, ho.
I'd have to go just the amp and the guitar, because it would throw me. The string missing a string would throw me too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to go. Yeah, same.
I'm the same.
Yeah.
I couldn't be without a string.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They'd be pretty bland
Yeah.
unless you could crank the amp and then sort of use the volume control. It'd be it would be tricky. But
I'd be super happy with like that Hughes and Kettner or a Plexi
using
and a Marshall and a Strat. I could cope with that, I think. What's your go-to amps? What are your favourite amps?
I've always leant towards kind of the Voxier
Yeah.
side of things. So my favorite setup actually that I ever had was I had a JMI AC15 and a Lazy J20 in stereo.
Oh, nice.
Which was, it was complete overkill for the gigs I was doing, but it sounded amazing. Because you've got, the Vox, sort of the mids and everything, and the J, that Fender thing, it's got the scoopy stuff going on, so it just sounded huge.
Two amps.
Do you have blue in in both?
Yeah.
Nice.
Two amps.
And it's the way.
Two amps. Sam Webster. Hello, Sam. Sam says, hi, fellas. Any reason not to mod an effects loop into a deluxe reverb? Primarily for the external preamp in, rather than actually using effects in the loop. Also, what are your thoughts on a Celestium Gold for a deluxe reverb reissue?
So that mod was one of the first mods done on the fabled deluxe that was used on all those big hits in the 80s.
What, Lukather's one?
Yeah. Paul Revere did that mod to that amp. That's one of the first ones he did. It's a great thing to do. It's not, if you want to keep it really simple, it's not a difficult thing. Any decent amp tech should be able to do it. Awesome.
Depends how loud you play as well. If that deluxe reverb is sort of down below now, all deluxe reverbs differ. Ours doesn't start overdriving till about 4 on the volume control. I've had them before where they'll start overdriving at 2.5. So if you play it before it's overdriving, and that's the kind of volume you play at, no real problem with putting a preamp into the front of that, I wouldn't say, if it's a Kingsley or something like that. So the mod might not be necessary. The mod will become necessary if you can't get the headroom out of the amp. So try the preamp straight into the front of it. Try it into input 2 maybe, because that's a bit reduced gain. So it could be, definitely try it straight into the front first. And you might have to have really radical EQ settings like the treble almost off or whatever it might be. But try it into the front first, and if that doesn't work, then maybe think about the mod.
Yeah.
It definitely won't work if you're hammering it.
Yeah, because the other thing with those amps, don't forget, is as you drive them, a lot of that overdrive and stuff you're hearing is the preamp hitting the phase inverter and the power valves going. So if you think, and because originally when you said the preamp in, that's a great way to use it, as opposed to turning up the amplifier, getting overdrive sound, putting a delay in the loop, because you're still going to run into the same problems. If it's the phase inverter, those gain stages, that relationship that's distorting, you're going to run into the same problems where, it's not the preamp that's making the overdrive, it's the relationship between all the gain stages and the amplifier. So it probably isn't, a delay in that loop with the amp overdriving isn't going to fix that problem. However, having a really nice preamp in there and, nice preamp into wet effects into the preamp return, nice.
That'd be a good setup.
Yes. Geek City, baby.
Yeah, one of my eyes just, I was trying to follow.
Bit of extra light. I've just calmed us down on the light front. Let's see what's coming in on the regular chat. See if we've got anything from Matt here before we carry on. Come on. For Matt, says Anthony Edwardson. I've got a Squire Jazzmaster. I like the neck pickup, but the bridge is thin and weedy. Would you suggest replacing the full set or just the bridge with a JM size wide range humbucker or a normal Jazzmaster pickup?
I would. The thing is, with any pickup set, I would say if you've got a sound, say the neck pickup, if that sounds great, you like that, then why change it? Just keep that. You've got that, and then alter the one that's not working for you would be my first port of call, rather than. Again, it's if you change everything all at once, you don't know, you don't know what's done what. So figure out where you want to get with your bridge pickup, and then go from there. Which one was it? Wide range.
He likes the neck pickup, but he finds the bridge a bit thin and weedy. What would be the most likely cause of a thin and weedy Jazzmaster bridge pickup?
A Jazzmaster bridge pickup?
Would be
That's the reason.
Yeah.
Because it's a Jazzmaster bridge pickup.
Yeah. So you could try lower value pots.
Yeah.
As well.
Or get one again with slightly weaker magnets, so you can get the whole thing closer. Try it really close to the strings, because it won't be affecting the way they're vibrating, and then you'll get all these mids coming up. So you mess around with that too. But definitely, something like you can get anything into a Jazzmaster size thing. So it's like a P90 sound really, really good. Especially married up with the Jazzmaster neck. That middle position's magic.
Seymour Duncan Invader, I think is what you're after.
Yeah, anything like that. But yeah, beef it up with that.
That'd be awesome, actually.
Do you do different types of pickups in a Jazzmaster set size?
Yeah. I've done stock, like off the shelf. We do like all our P90s are available in the Jazzmaster size thing. But I've done humbuckers, wide ranges.
You do a wide range in the Jazzmaster.
I've done one.
The same wide range that's in my thing.
Yeah.
Because they are unbelievable.
It's really cool. Yeah, this wide range in the Jazzmaster is a good. Well, what wide ranges generally, if you get a good one, they're magic.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Tiny bit of housekeeping. First off, thank you to BV for moderating as always.
Yes, thank you, BV. There's a chord for BV. There you
nice
go.
One. That's nice.
Like that?
Yeah.
I found a new chord.
And also, we should announce the winner of July's giveaway. So there was a TC Electronic Mimic doubler and a Pipeline Tap Tremolo for our Patreon members on Patreon. Our patrons on Patreon, John from Glasgow in Scotland and Nathan from Troy in New York were the winners. John from Glasgow, Troy in New York. The August giveaway will be sent out next week. Thank you.
Yeah, congrats guys, and thank you so much for your support.
Hope you enjoy a bit of that. Right then.
Have you ever been to Glasgow?
Yeah.
I didn't know this because I've only ever been to Edinburgh, which I love. I would move there tomorrow. What an amazing place.
Mm-hmm.
But talking to the Biffy boys, just about how vibrant the music scene is in Glasgow. It's bred some amazing bands. Biffy being one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think West Side Music, so a big distribution company who maybe still, but certainly at that time did Martin, Boogie, Tom Anderson, all kinds of things.
Yeah.
And they're in Glasgow.
A bit of Dunlop. Yeah, I went to visit them a couple of times. Had a lovely time.
Cool.
As well. Elixir as well.
Yeah, Elixir, yeah. Who else we got next then? Square Wave Symphonies. Hello, Alex. He says, hey, legends, or indeed legends. No question. Just wanted to say thanks for the great content. I love Friday's show, which would have been Fridays before, where we did the old favourites.
Yeah.
I got the TrueFi colour driver because of the video did on it years ago. It's been on my board ever since. Much love from Alex.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's funnily enough, putting it back, that was the whole point of the show, a load of stuff that we were super fizzy about at the time and maybe had, by necessity, given that we have to try loads of new stuff all the time. Oh, what a shame. Stuff it disappears off the board pretty quick. P Design P. Hello, P Design P. Hi, Mick. Hello. Could you please tell your approach of a Page, Kingsley Page, Klon and TS10 from your board? What do you use as a rhythm sound and how do you boost? Do you switch the mid on and off on the 2-rock by changing guitars? Thanks, says Dimitri. Try and do as briefly as possible. I don't touch anything on the amp when changing guitars. Dan and I talk about this quite a lot. I always try and find guitars that aren't a million miles away tonally. So my Les Paul, for example, is quite a light sounding Les Paul. So it doesn't sound super thick and mid-rangey compared to the Strat. Same with the 335. So what you get there is when you change guitars, it sounds like a Les Paul and it sounds like a 335, sounds like a Strat. The guitars retain their character without having to do anything in amp land. The way I do it, which is what you're hinting at, I think it's probably the way we all do it, is maybe this overdrive pedal might be optimized a little bit more for your single coil guitar, and that overdrive pedal might be optimized a little more for your humbucker guitar. And in my case, that would mean less gain in the humbucker overdrive and less bass. So, for example, you say about a rhythm sound, could be anything actually. Could be, what I tend to do is have a completely separate pedal set up for a gain rhythm sound. So, you know, if it's like a rock song, then that overdrive pedal is only for that, and it's usually set at a low level because I don't need it loud. It's got to sit behind singing, and that might be, I don't know, J-Rocket HRM, could be the TS10 like you say, or a TS9 maybe. Something that's got a bit of gain works great, and then boost the other stuff in addition to that for playing single note stuff or solo. Klon is always last regardless of anything because I just love it as a shaper. But where the Page, you mentioned the Page, the Kingsley Page, which is a tube, really simple tube overdrive and boost, it gets a little bit more chewy with that because sometimes that sounds better on the end than the Klon.
Oh, okay.
Because the valve is last. And sometimes it's better up front. So I don't know. What I try and do is have 3 overdrive options that combined give you loudest, and loudester, basically. And then once you're 2 songs into the set, you know which is going to work for what.
And it's an interesting way to do it. And you can take that to the nth degree. Like, so Andy Timmons has an overdrive pedal that he only ever uses on the neck pickup.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's like in this song for this neck pickup, I'll switch this on, and it's, you know, he'll if he goes back to the bridge, he'll put a different overdrive on.
Right.
You know, so it's like, it's not just, doesn't have to be just per guitar. It can be per position. You know, this gain stage sounds really great for this part where I'm using this pickup. That's how far you can take it, baby.
I don't know about you guys, but the more I grow up, the more I'm starting to just love the sound of my guitars and trying to play with as little gain as possible.
Yeah.
And that's not to say no gain. It's not like a clean sound, and the clarity that comes back from that.
Yeah. That's the classic thing, isn't it? It's just your gain knob, basically, as you get older, just goes, like other things, it just goes back down. And then, of course, the classic mistake that we probably all used to fall into was you step on the next overdrive pedal and it just gets really gainy and you get tons of sustain and all the rest of it, but then you can't be heard. Yeah. Because it just falls away to nothing. And maybe a bit of age, a bit of confidence brings the confidence to play a bit louder in the first place, but be loud when you need to be and be quiet when you don't need to be that loud. Yeah.
If you go and watch any of Tom Bukovac's videos, it's the best example of that online. The gain is only ever where it needs to be at, so he gets sustain and it just compresses that note, but you can always hear the guitar. Yeah. You know, and it's amazing how it's not rare, but there's not, what am I saying? I've been watching a lot of guitar videos lately, and I really enjoy it when I hear someone that can do that.
Yeah.
it does make a world of difference when you can actually hear the guitar and you're not hearing just fizz.
Yeah, because there's a load of harmonic interest that comes out of the guitar that's kind of masked by all that gain.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I guess that's where you come into it. So you spend all this time learning how to make awesome sounding pickups and make guitars sing.
Yeah.
And then somebody just chucks a shit ton of overdrive on it, and you're like, "Where's it gone?"
But I've been guilty of doing that too.
Yeah.
But, I swear, when I was younger, and then you get your first pedal and everything, you just think it's, you think, insert a guitarist like Angus Young or whoever is really driven, like tonally, but then now you listen to it, it's way cleaner than I thought back then. But when I design pickups or anything, it's all about being heard and having the right frequencies to then cut through.
Yeah.
So you've got to do everything you can, especially if you're fighting against multiple vocals, keyboard player, bass, all that stuff, track, everything. You need to be heard, and you can't, especially nowadays, you can't just like turn everything right up, can you?
Yeah.
And that'll just blow people's ears, and sound guy will hate you, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, especially if you've got a really kind of scoopy overdrive tone, because what's going to get boosted there is a ton of bass and a ton of treble, and just get completely overwhelming.
I'm gonna have a little brief rant.
Excellent.
I know where
it makes a change from me doing it.
It's not a rant, but I've been seeing some bands lately, and I was out with my dear lady wife, and we were watching some bands, and I was parking the car, and I could hear the band on stage, and I went, that guitar sound could really use some help. Right,
That's very diplomatic.
I must have been 500 meters. I'm trying hard to be diplomatic during this phase of the story. And I'm listening to this, and I'm going, yes, it was just not a pleasure to listen to. And I got close to the stage, and then and they finished, and another band came on with two guitars, and I had to take Zach for a walk because I couldn't sit there. That one guitar was so much sub in the guitar, and I was like, and I could see the sound guy, and I thought, is the sound guy just not
on crack?
Yeah, is he? what's going on? And I was just thinking of all the processes that it has to go through to actually get out the front. I thought I took Zach for a walk, and we walking around this thing, and you could just hear this, all from the guitar. And then another guitar part came in from the other guy, and it was all upper mids, like it was all doing a rhythm part over the singer, and it just clashed some of the shotgun. And there was that other thing that I could hear, like when I got to the car park, was on, and I'm like,
we love it.
And it was, I'm like, this is, it wasn't fun. Anyway, the next band came on, and I'd gone for a walk with Zach, and they started playing, and I thought, that sounds ace. And I got to the stage, I walked back, and I think it was like an old bassman, head and cab, and the other guy had a 1x12 microphone just dangled over the front, and it sounded amazing. The sound guy just went out the front, and it was like, it was, they were called Dirty Smooth, and they were playing some really great covers. They had really good, nice harmonies and stuff. But it was so easy for the singer to do what he needed to do over really great guitar parts, where they had they'd obviously done their homework, and they knew what worked with the two-piece guitar thing, what worked with vocals, and it just sounded fantastic. It's like, man, I still haven't heard anything yet as good as stick a mic on it.
What were the culprits for the sound you didn't prefer?
I don't know. There were no amps on stage.
Okay.
So I don't, and now whether that was it or not, I don't know. But it had that thing where and I didn't say anything, and Teen said to me, what's that? What's going on there?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was fascinating. And the way the audience reacted to the last band, it's a whole different thing.
And it wasn't just down to the set, you don't think?
No, because it was a really eclectic choices, and
Yeah,
and half of it was original stuff.
Oh, right.
That I hadn't heard before.
And they didn't all go home?
No.
Wow.
It was super interesting.
Never happened to my gigs.
And that's not to say about the gear, because these guys could play.
Yeah.
But as much as anything, they had done their homework on how to work as a team.
Working as a team,
With a singer, it's like, okay, if I do this and do that, we're going to keep out of the way of the vocals.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, it just made the sound guy's job so much easier. If I had walked in and they were the first band, I would have gone, the sound guy's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there we go.
There we go. So the advice there is, we do meet a lot of people who are reticent about playing live because they are worried about the technicality of it, being able to play competently enough to get out there and do it. I'll echo Dan's sentiment. I'm not suggesting that these guys weren't technically proficient, but it is amazing if you work together as a unit and you get your sound.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You don't all have to be Andy Timmons.
No,
not at all.
absolutely.
You just play the parts and make music together.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then that is always more effective, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, 100%.
That was brilliant.
Happy days. Right, another question from Matt from Adrian Thorpe. Matt, what do you do to relax away from guitar? Do you have any adjacent hobbies?
I don't get much time to be fair, but I like a bit of do a bit of fitness. I play guitar, to be honest, because most of my time, even though I'm surrounded by guitars all the time, I don't play guitar.
Yeah.
It's like when I came to see you the other week. It's just I love learning like new chords or whatever it is, and then I'll just spend an evening, if I've got one, just noodling around on that. In fact, I think when I got back from seeing you guys last time, I did just sort of zone. I've got this really nice Sonic Blue Strat, which is in my bed, just like playing on that Scott McKeon riff that I sent you.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, that boy can play, but it's sickening. But
he's a bit good.
Yeah, just a smidge.
I'll be seeing him on Wednesday night actually at Lottie's Bar in Frome if you're interested in seeing Scott McKeon.
Really?
Yeah. It's only a tiny place, but it's always good in there.
I'd go. But yeah, it's either actually it is guitar or I'll hit the gym or something like that.
No rock climbing?
I did do rock climbing.
Did you?
And then but I do the classic thing of I'll get hyper obsessed with something like tennis. I got really obsessed with tennis. And then I'll do that for 6 months, a year, and then I drop it. And then cycling or cooking or whatever. And it's like literally one day my interest will just be like gone, and I can't bring myself back to do it, which is really, it's like tennis. I love it. I was never any good. I was enthusiastic, I'd say. Terrible, but it's just, and then all of a sudden it goes.
What was the most expensive tennis racket you ever bought?
It was, I don't think it's too bad.
Oh, okay, so you didn't go full.
Oh, it was
ceramic,
it was one of the was it Babolat Aero, like the Rafa ones, because I thought I could get all that spin. And the thing is, I had geeked out. This is what I do. I'd geeked out 100% on how they make the racket, how they make the strings, how you need to hold the racket so you can hit it to get the amount of spin that Rafa did,
Yeah.
which was just insanely, it's insane compared to other people. And then so I did all that, as I said to you. I nearly
What,
bought.
you're going to buy a string?
I got that close. It's just this is.
He's going to buy a racket restringing machine.
Yeah, I mean this is kind of why I'm doing this.
It's gas though, isn't it? It's just gas in a different.
Yeah.
In a different.
But also I've got to know all the stuff behind it.
Yeah.
Which is
Any other like more interesting ones?
More interesting ones. No, motorbikes. I got really into that.
Did you?
Mm-hmm.
What was the stupidest motorbike you ever owned?
I never had enough money to buy a stupid one.
Right.
But I just did stupid things on them.
Okay.
Mm. I nearly soiled myself a few times. But that was off the bike.
Sean Tubbs is on. He says, "Hey Dan and
Hey!
Nick, hope you guys are both doing well. Hello, Sean.
Hey, buddy.
Nice to hear from you, buddy. You heard Sean play?
No.
Oh.
That was another one. I'm just going to get depressed.
Send you some. He's like.
Here's a chord for Sean.
Oh, so beautiful.
Yeah.
He's a beautiful man.
No, yes, beautiful man, beautiful chord.
Such a wonderful player. Okay, from Lugsy D. Hi dudes and happy Monday. Question for Matt. What do you use for cleaning nitrocellulose maple fretboards?
I use keep it really simple. So you get yourself some lighter fluids. It costs you 60p or whatever, and some kind of I use a motorbike polish actually, which is Miracle Shine. I muck off Miracle Shine, which makes it feel super nice. Gets rid of any stickiness, all that kind of stuff. Some people worry about it reacting with nitro sometimes, but I've used it on old Gretches which have
Not the lighter fluid, the polish.
the polish. Yeah. The lighter fluid's fine on absolutely everything.
You use lighter fluid on nitro?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah.
I only thought you used it on unfinished necks. But
Well, if you're cleaning something off,
Yeah.
you just put that on a bit of your I use lighter fluid, toothbrush, and then you can sort of scrub around, get all around down the edges of the fret. It just gets rid of everything. You can also use lemon oil as a cleaner. It is better as a cleaner than a
conditioner.
It's mostly naphtha with a bit of mineral oil, so you can use that too. But I'd go lighter fluid and then Miracle Shine.
There you go. So with all the requisite safety warnings about using lighter fluid in well ventilated areas with no naked flames.
I'm enjoying the fumes as we sit here.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Yeah, there's a few.
Yeah. My brother used to spray it under the duvet. He used to wake me up in the morning, spray lighter fluid under the duvet and then light it.
What?
You serious?
Yeah. And it would only burn the hair off. It wouldn't actually burn any skin.
Oh, that's okay.
It would just burn. Yeah.
I thought he was being silly then, but that's far out, man.
Small insight into my childhood. He always used to tape 5 bangers together and put them in a tin.
That's a nice one.
Throw them in my room and shout Achtung. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Hello, Darren, if you ever watched this. This is your fault. I have a Marshall Silver Jubilee Studio, says Steve G. Have you seen the new Marshall JTM Studio?
No.
It looks really good. 20 watt JTM.
Oh, fantastic.
They just launched, 2 weeks ago.
I haven't seen it.
It looks really good.
Okay.
Really good. Obviously, they'll never send us one, so we'll have to borrow one from somewhere.
Yeah.
It looks really good. Shout out to Studio Rats, actually. I don't know if you've ever watched the Studio Rats channel. I was ignorant to the Studio Rats channel and stumbled across it and watched, I forget the guy's name and I'm so sorry that I've forgotten his name. Demo of the JTM. He does really good demos. He's a really good player. Really good player. Like super clean. And plays what you need to hear in order to hear the amp. Right. Instead of like all that stuff we do all the time. Where it's like, can you please just play the same thing for like 2 minutes? Anyway, so shout out to Studio Rats and check out their channel, please, because I unearthed a whole crap load of stuff on there that's really good.
Awesome.
Anyway, Stevie G says, I have a Marshall Silver Jubilee Studio and run through a Captor X to play at home. It's my first tube amp, sounds great on its own, but doesn't play nice with pedals, gets a bit fizzy. What pedal platform amps would you recommend? there's no reason why the Silver Jubilee won't work great with pedals. Let's just say that. You just need to find the right pedals.
Yeah. And it depends on how you're running it. Like if you're, and I'm assuming that you've got the amp, because you're going to a Captor X,
Yeah.
which is a low box. So I'm assuming you've got the amp turned up and it's doing its thing. So straight away that you're limiting, because the amp is limiting, it's not just a clever word, because the amp is limiting, there's no, like any boost or drives or whatever, you're just limiting the amp more. It's just going to compress more. So the first thing to do is try setting up the amp as an experiment. Try setting up the amp to react a bit better, to give it a bit more headroom. You know, because you've got the captor. This is an interesting thing that I find, and I do it myself when I'm using my ISO box, because I've got the ISO box and I'm only hearing stuff coming through the monitors. The impulse is to crank the amp because you can,
Right.
and it's a really fun thing to do. But actually, the best tones I've got out of a matchless are not the matchless cranked. It's just the matchless just on the edge.
Right.
And so try that with the Marshalls that's just on the edge, and then turn it up in the Captor X so that you can hear it and get a bit of interaction, and then try the pedals again. I'm really confident that amp, you should be able to get that working great with pedals. But saying that, there are amplifiers that I've used that are trickier as pedal platforms than other ones. Sometimes if the Vox gets past a certain point, it can be tricky, because it just stamps its Voxiness on everything. But what would be Hot Rod Deluxe is always fantastic pedal platform.
Yeah, the general thought about pedal platform amps, it's a term that's problematic in so many respects, but it usually means cleaner. It usually means more headroom, so that whatever you do to it, it's enabled. It can amplify what you're doing to it and not
cave in
and become too much part of the. But then that might be exactly what you want. So with the Silver Jubilee, for example, if you are running it gainier, instead of overdrive pedals that are relatively full frequency, try a treble booster. Try any kind of boost that doesn't have loads of overdrive, and you'll be, if you've ever had an experience of a treble booster and you've plugged it into something like a clean deluxe reverb or a twin or something, it's so horrific. You would think, why would anybody on earth ever want this? But then you hear one into a crank Marshall and it's like, oh, or a Vox.
That's amazing.
That's what it's for.
Mm-hmm.
So before you stampede to the amp shop and give up on your Silver Jubilee, just try some different overdrive pedals. Usually ones that have got slightly less gain, slightly more boosty in nature, and that maybe give you some control of the bottom end where you can just lock that off a bit. And that could work.
Yeah.
Matt actually does a really lovely dual booster.
Yeah, the
more.
more.
Called the
That
More.
Amore.
A dual JFET booster, isn't it?
Yeah. Designed it with Steve Crow, Audio Kitchen.
Oh God, we didn't say that in the video.
Sorry, Steve.
Sorry, Steve.
But yeah, no, that would do exactly that. It does that kind of clon thing. You know, that I find it gives you, it's the frequency lift, which then sort of, so it's not just hitting everything all at once. It does that treble boosty kind of nice thing.
And then your reverbs and delays, that's a whole other question. I think the Silver Jubilee Studio probably has an effects loop, so you should be okay with that. So you can run your wet effects, as it were, in the effects loop, which means they're after the overdriving front section of the amp. However, as Dan said, if you are running it into a Captor X, the whole amp's overdriving, they're still going to overdrive. Does the Captor X have a loop?
I don't know.
I don't think it does.
No.
Yeah. Something like the Power Station has a loop, and it works brilliantly for that.
Yeah, so just to explain that, if you are using some form of external attenuation device or reamping box or whatever it might be, something like a universal audio aux, Dan just mentioned the Fryette Power Station, and maybe there are certain 2 Notes products, apologies for the ignorance of the range, but it might be that device has a loop in it, so you can crank your amp as much as you want and put your wet effects in the loop of that device so that they stay clearer and cleaner sounding. Other than that, you're looking at an amp that's got more clean headroom, but then you have the opposite problem because the amp won't overdrive in the fantastic way that the Silver Jubilee does. Good luck.
This still taking me back to the good old days.
Yeah, squeaky chairs.
Squeaky chairs.
Do you notice how it doesn't send me into a fit of rage these days?
Every time I've gone.
That's the that's all the work, Dan.
It is the work.
That's the work.
Gotta do the work.
That's the work. Maybe we can have a whole episode of the philosophy podcast. Trying to think of the name of it.
Philosophy.
Yeah,
I like it.
I did think of some names and then googled them all, and they're all taken already.
Okay.
Yeah. So the first one will be dealing with squeaky chairs when you're completely anal about production.
Dealing with squeaky chairs.
We could do a week on that.
And and how to not stab your co-presenter in the face.
Dan is the living example of how we managed to get by all of that. Going to give us a bit more light again.
Actually, I heard Bill Burr do something. He was on I don't know if it's his podcast or he was on something. It was one of these clips that came up on Facebook, I think it was, because he's done loads of work on his anger and just all these kind of things, and he said this: if he can feel his head going to, I must probably get this wrong, but he can feel his head going towards something negative, be that anger or sadness or whatever, it's because one of 3 things. So it's either he's not saying what he's thinking, he's said yes to something, he's doing something he doesn't want to do, or he's scared. One of those 3 things. And then since he's kind of realised that, he's if he can catch himself, he can't just calm down.
Oh, okay.
And that's his strategy.
Yeah, well, I'm sure there's more. There is definitely more to it. It was just one of these little snippets, but I thought it was kind of.
That would be a great theme for episodes. Strategies.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're not too. So it's not all too academic.
No, it's and it's
actual strategies.
And because then you've got people's real life experience of how have you managed to do this, and it's just like, well, if I managed to ground myself, but people don't manage it all the time.
No.
But again, that's the whole practice.
Well, you've got to want to manage it as well, haven't you?
Yeah, or acknowledge that it's a thing in the first place.
Yeah, because there's lots of behaviour that becomes entrenched and chosen.
Mm-hmm.
So that anger that I used to have was entirely chosen. That was my choice of reaction.
Yeah.
Because it underlined who I was. And then it's not till you realise that, and it's like, oh, hang on a minute, that's a bit daft. Anyway, this could be good.
Mm-hmm. I've started reading on audiobook the Chimp Paradox.
Oh yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, it's a great one.
I've called my chimp Bubbles. It's appropriate. Shut up, Bubbles.
Yeah. What is that? So is the I started it and didn't get very far with it. Is that the same analogy as, like we have?
It's unconscious presence.
Like I have Kevin.
Yeah, exactly the same thing. It is unconscious presence. Is exactly what it is.
Yeah. So basically, when you're, it's your ego basically. The Chimp Paradox might explain it differently, but when your ego starts getting in charge of things and you start channeling negativity. Instead of reacting to that negativity and becoming the negativity, you stand it over there and you observe it and you give it a name. And mine's called Kevin, so I stand Kevin over there. And
I think they're a bit more scientific in the way that you've got your frontal cortex and the limbic part of the brain, where these 2 basically combative personalities live. And if you think of the chimp part of the brain as the emotional, reactive, and the what he calls the human part of the brain as more reasoning, more logical.
So does he mention Freud's id, superego, and ego?
He hasn't yet.
Okay, because that is
what that is.
That's part of that. Right. Yeah.
But there's a really interesting case study of a railway worker in the late 1800s, and he was putting in these explosive charges with this metal rod. It sounds like a really dumb thing to do anyway. And it goes off. The metal rod goes through his eye and takes out his prefrontal cortex. But he survives. But he has a massive personality change. And the reason they've chosen to do this job is because he was very stable and steady and very cool, calm and collected. And he turned into a bit of a maniac after this.
Oh, wow.
And it apparently got rid of... That's where the human part of the brain lives.
Yeah.
And he's just completely controlled by his chimp part of the brain.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's really interesting.
You hear people who've had serious head injuries having
Massive personality
changes.
Yeah.
Okay, for those of you who aren't into a serious head injury, maybe there are some psychological ways in which we can get on top of it. Yes. Yeah.
George is in the other room.
Hello, George.
How you doing, George?
What's he saying? Is he saying?
No, I'm just saying hello to George
You
through the
guys
door.
look awful and you sound awful.
Some Rax Effects has said thanks Matt and George for 3 5-way telelooms.
Pleasure.
Very nice.
Raf Freighter says, hello guys, nice surprise seeing Matt here. Sorry if it was asked before. Matt, what's your best method to get polishing compound out of a rosewood fretboard grain?
Again, lighter fluid toothbrush. That's the thing, and then go with the grain. So you're kind of, just you need to get your toothbrush and stick it right in the holes, for want of a better phrase.
Ron Leslie says, for God's sake, cheer up, you three. I'm ready to phone the Samaritans. No, it's all good. No, it's a
You
really,
should work for the Samaritans, Ron.
This is work that has been done.
It's
very, very interesting.
Indeed. Okay.
Phineas Gage. Thanks, Noise Bloom. That's who it was. Phineas Gage.
Johnny Love says, Paul Drew and James Ivey are the main studio rats. Great channel, especially the live stream. Very friendly and approachable guys. Will always answer your questions. Yes, it was Paul, actually, who I saw doing the demo. Johnny Love, thank you for the reminder. I think I met one of them on a plane going to Nam, but I was either drunk or asleep. So,
or both.
Yeah, probably both. Michael Giliberto. Hello, Michael. He says, I've wanted a TWWFA episode for ages. Is that the one we did last week? The things we were fizzy about episode. There we go.
Well played.
Thanks, DNM, for making it. Sounds like you might do it again, which would be great. Also, got to play gloriously loud on Saturday. Very satisfying indeed.
Come on.
Always good.
Come on.
There's very little better in life, is there, than playing loud guitar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we will do it again, actually. In fact, there is one that's edited and ready to go out over the summer, where we do the Van Beelden Royal Overdrive and a couple of other things.
Yeah, the Eternity.
Yeah.
Yeah,
some nice... Actually, I thought that was better than the first one.
Yeah, me too.
Offset Modman. Legs. I'm having a pedal and guitar purge, a gear bloat from too much gas. Nice analogy.
Let it out.
Any tips?
Open a window.
Any tips for the process? Have you parted with anything you deeply regret?
Absolutely.
You're asking the wrong people that question.
Yeah. Oh man, loads. It's one thing having to sell gear because you need the cash, and we've all been there. It's another thing having to sell gear because you think I shouldn't, for whatever reason you think I shouldn't, I don't deserve it, or it's why do I have all this stuff. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it can be really healthy to have a purge. Just make sure that if you've decided that this is something that you want to get rid of, just sit on it for a week. You know, because I've done it before. I'll never forget this. My very first ever script logo, Phase 90, I had amazing sounding thing. And I took it to Neil's Guitars and Amps in Manly. I'd had it for a year or so, and I wasn't using it very much. And I thought, you know what? If I'm not using it, I'm gonna move it on. And then I put it in the shop on consignment, and 2 hours later I went, what am I doing? You idiot. Ran back to the shop, sold.
Oh my God.
and I've had loads ever since. Actually, the one that Neil gave me is the best one I've heard, but that one was just had the magic.
Yeah.
And I've regretted that ever since. So just there's nothing. We've all got these stories, but there's really nothing like regretting selling something that you didn't need to sell and that you miss. I've got I had a Orville by Gibson double cutaway junior, and it was cost like $300, and it was the most amazing guitar.
They were really good.
That just sounded awesome. I got my junior, my 61, and I thought, oh, I don't need this anymore. I've got a real 61 junior, so I sold it, and it's like, why did I sell that? I think it sold for like £400 or something, because the prices just started going up. And then the day after, I'm like, you idiot! Why did I sell that? Yeah. So just if you decide to sell something, sit on it for at least a few days, and make sure that it's something that you really are happy not to have around.
What about you, Matt?
I've had a few. One was I had an AC30, 1962 AC30 that I bought off Charlie Chandler.
I got my box from Charlie Chandler.
Yeah.
I bought Blue from Charlie Chandler.
No way!
Yeah.
Charlie's the man. But yeah, I just got into a band, which it was the first band that had management. There was like really cool. It was when with Cass from Skunk and Nancy was playing bass in it.
Oh, okay.
Right.
He's a monster bass player, and yeah, I had no money, and my dad was just like, look, I'll get. I didn't have an amp big enough at the time. My dad was just like, I'll help you get one. I've been borrowing a mate's AC30. Phoned Charlie, and he had one that was knackered. It had no back panel, needed gutting, and I got it for £700.
Nice.
And I had Dave Peterson, the guy. He was the guy who modded Brian May's amp, all that kind of stuff.
So is he the same guy that had Peterson amps, or was that something different?
No, I think that's something different.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, he was the amp tech at Chandler's, and
right.
I took it into him. He sorted it all out. There's a guy called Andrew Scrimshaw who's an amazing tech.
Oh yeah.
Like literally, he's one of those guys you give him. He's like from the A-Team. You can give him a cabbage and a box of matches, and he'll make a tank. He's
It'll be a crap tank, but
yeah,
still a tank.
Yeah, it just smells a bit, But
That's lettuce busting artillery shells.
That talks to me about artillery shells.
But yeah, I had that. Did all gigs with that, and then the band split up. And whatever, but it sounded amazing. It was one of those. It's the sound that I'd always wanted. It's the whole, we grew up with Radiohead and all that kind of stuff, and it was just that. And then I was going to get married, and was trying to show that even though I was a struggling musician, I could play it with the big boys. So I sold it, and I was doing lessons and this, and just trying to build my cash up to pay for flowers. I think it was. And yeah, it went, but I sold it for $2,500, and which, to be honest, is a good price. I paid for that to hear back, but yeah, so that went with that.
Yeah.
And the thing with the flowers, I think I paid specifically for the bouquet and stuff, which then got forgotten, which is just like, oh god. But yeah. But then I did find a JMI AC15, which I bought off Paul Sayer from the Temperance Movement, amongst other things. Okay. And that was freaking amazing, and sort of I recovered. Yeah.
That's it. If it's a step to something meaningful that you want, actually, we can't say want, because wanting is not the best way to go about things. No. But if it's a stepping stone to something that makes sense for you, then there's no problem. Like, so for example, I haven't sold Blue, but I don't play it anymore, and I don't want to play it anymore because I've got a guitar that I far prefer. So if Blue goes, I won't be sad about it. Yeah. The problem is we do get attached to this stuff, and we get attached to it as objects, and we put so much of our
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it's not it's not standing on the mountain and going, I have learned. That's the interesting bit. Each individual step up the mountain was the more interesting part.
I like it.
So now I don't feel attached to the stuff, and I feel happy to discard it.
Right.
But if you say, I don't really play my clawne anymore, would I discard that? Then you get into like, well, is it worth it? Could I sell it for the money? And then that's just all head stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that my answer would be, it's just stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Don't sweat it. But also, unless you're in, so I don't know, you want to confirm or deny, Matt. Dan and I both have been in situations where we've had to sell stuff before for financial reasons. Now that's a different game. If you've got to do that, you've got to do it. And there's
and you can't beat yourself up. That's the situation you're in.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a different thing. But if you find yourself like beating yourself up and just being in this like eternal brain fog because you can't decide what gear you want, then I would suggest that is not useful time. And we've all done it, by the way. I'm not saying I haven't done it. I've done too much of it.
Got to go there to come back.
You do. Mm-hmm. The road of excess leads to the palace of wisdom.
There you go.
They're all coming out now.
Yeah.
There's a chord for that.
Thank God for that.
Shivers.
Yeah. That was nice.
Speaking of gear, a few people asking what this guitar is. So it's called a Cream Tea, and check out this really cool thing. It lets you swap out the pickups really quick from the back. You can just undo
little
them.
magnets.
It
It just pop out.
Oh wow!
Like that, and then so I saw them.
No,
Is it me? I saw them at the Birmingham Guitar Show.
how did you do it?
You literally just pull the.
Come on!
Put your lips together and blow.
Now we're doing an acoustic guitar. That is awesome.
Yeah, so it's the quickest way to swap pickups out and to let people try stuff out, which is really, really handy. So we've got all of our humbuckers in these special
that format
things, so we can just do it really quickly. So it's really easy to see like what difference, going super low wind something to high, well, whatever.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's a clever piece of kit. Super handy.
So lots of people are asking, Matt. BV, thank you for the reminder. Let's have a whistle stop tour of the guitars that we can see in shot then. So this is made by Cream. Is that Cream Tea as in
the pickup?
Yeah, Cream Tea.
Guys, this is sort of the team behind that. And it's super
really
cool.
nice.
I've managed to ding it already today. I'm sorry to say.
I've dinged it more than you have, so you're all good. Don't worry.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we've got lots of these are like demos.
Is that you, Mick?
Might be. I knocked it off the bench with a stool.
Oh, that's nice.
There's character.
Yeah, that's what it is.
It's the story of the guitar.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
no,
You can say that was James Hetfield. That was Mick from that pedal show.
So what we got? We've got this thing is fantastic. Actually,
That is great.
So it's like a reverse Firebird.
Yeah, I can't remember the model of it. As I think it's a Zephyr, but it's made by a guy called.
Don't touch it, Mick.
You got it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a one-armed. It was a one-armed.
It's super nice. Made by a guy called Kev Williams, who used to work with me at Monty's, and they've only been doing it properly for I think 3 years now, but Kev's just getting better and better and better. He's one of those guys that he's like a sponge, just soaks up everything.
You know what's interesting about every single one of your guitars I've ever played resonates like a Motorfinger.
Nice.
Isn't that great?
I noticed, so Matt just picked up a 335 and I played it, I was like, wow, this resonates way better than mine.
This
does.
Yeah. But again, it's, luck of the draw, but also it's like set up stuff and everything. You're making sure that your strings can move as they're meant to do, and it will help make anything more lively. But yeah, so that's, okay, we use that as a demo for our...
What does that say on the headstock?
Providence guitars. You should check them out, they're amazing.
Right then, so next we've got like a blackguard.
Yeah, so this is our demo for our broadcaster set, I think, in this one.
There's a nervous internet right now. There we go.
Awesome.
There you go. Everything's fine. Nobody panic.
In fact, when Kev came to drop off, because he's made me 2 others, there's a pink Junior down there, which he made me in a 335 type thing, and George knocked that over and the whole neck fell off. I was like, yeah, within minutes.
You do generally find
George.
that people who work with guitars day in, day out are somewhat less precious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is this is a demo for our broadcaster set, but it's got, if you feel the neck on it.
That.
Yeah.
The V.
Yeah,
Like
you played this before, didn't you? It's the neck's by a company called Music Crafts. I think they're then in New York, and you can go super geeky on like blackguard stuff. So if you feel that,
it's almost like a like they used to be on the slide guitars.
Yeah, exactly. But it's you can order it by, I think it's, I haven't looked at it for a while, but it's by serial number, and they're all slightly different. But when I first picked it up, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to like it. But then you play it for 5 minutes, and it just becomes the most comfortable thing ever.
Again, just resonant. And in D, is this drop?
Yeah.
Dan, I hate to tell you, I've got really interested in tellies again.
Uh-oh.
It's okay. I'm going for Flying V now.
Because I've been listening to loads of Vince Gill and I've become obsessed with the quintessential country Telecaster sound.
That kind of 53 kind of...
Yeah, which you say is important because...
That's when they changed the bridge pickup from 43 gauge wire, which is just slightly thinner, which you get on the lap steels broadcasters, to 42, which gives you a lower resistance reading, but more volume for that. So say for example, like a 10k pickup wound with 43 will be just as aggressive as a one that's say 6-7 with 42.
Okay, so the wire got thinner in 52, 53, 53...
Got thicker, sorry.
Thicker?
Yeah.
Okay, right.
So that gives you more attack, and it gives you that telly top.
Magnets? What happens to magnets?
It's A5s typically. Pretty much, kind of stayed the same-ish. But at that point, they were, there was a bit of, if we can't get this, we get this. Which is always the case.
That is a completely mad net.
It's weird, isn't it?
Okay, and finally then we've got a reverse pickup Gold Esquire. Can I give you that?
Yeah, that thing is amazing. Sorry, hang on. Oh God.
You got it?
Yeah, I think so.
You saw it on that pedal show. Oh, look at that.
Yeah, so this thing is... This is really...
See, that's the way I'd always thought they should be.
Yeah.
Because the amount of mass and movement there should be closer to the amount of mass and movement, the equation there.
Yep. I can't remember the guy's name was a producer who we did some work for.
Kevin.
No. Did all the...
Steve-O.
Do you know, it's I'm just... That's my brain is gone.
Steve Levine.
Philip.
Gus Norton.
Just call him Trevor for now, and then
Mel Brooks.
Mel Brooks, yeah, Mel Brooks. Mel Brooks came in.
Where did we go so right?
Yeah, just nip the tip. But it's yeah, he was the first one to go, I want you to build a telly, but with a left-handed plate because I want it like this way around. And, you know, we did it. And it sounds cool, but I just really like the look of it.
Yeah.
So this is a body that Scott at Golden Age Guitars.
Oh, SC Relics.
Yeah.
Golden Age Guitars. Yes.
Yeah.
My
He
apologies,
sprayed.
Scott.
This is like really, really early on. I just sort of stumbled across him on Instagram, I think it was, and I had a couple of bodies, and we sent them over, and you know, then this one came back, and then
Guitar bodies, not.
Well, I am in Gloucestershire. You know, so guitar bodies, and I hadn't done anything with it for ages, and then we had this Glendale bridge, lefty bridge in, and I've just always wanted to put a Esquire together for ages, and George and I thought, why don't we do it on this one? It'd be amazing, and found this. I had this roasted maple Strat neck floating around, which has been on various things, but it's really, really good. Again, really resonant. Made this.
So you can see it's a Strat neck because it's curved.
Yeah.
So you see how it's curved down to the butt here, the heel, whereas the telly neck is straight.
And this doesn't give it away.
No. I mean that's quite hidden, I thought. But it's really cool.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, again, another super.
What's in there then?
That's a kind of prototypey thing at the minute, which I should be able to talk a bit more about soon. But kind of, it's got broadcastery vibes, but with a little bit more twang and a little bit more aggression. But then you back it off, it's smooth as silk.
Very nice. Pun-knotted Bumhucker wants to know what's the difference between Firebird pickups and mini humbuckers.
Great question. Thank you.
I think Firebird pickups are one of the most underrated.
They're amazing.
They're like absolutely crazy cool. Sonically, they've got this bloom, a good set. They've got this really nice bloom to them, which kind of it's got that path, the path thing. It's got a cut, but
they're very bright. They're still very bright.
Very bright, but there's a width to them, if that makes sense. But construction-wise, mini humbucker is exactly like a humbucker but smaller. Whereas Firebirds, you've got the bob in the middle of the bobbins, instead of slug and screws, you've got two magnets, basically. You know, two bar magnets, one north up, one south up, and you create that way. And physically, they're kind of small. All of it's smaller because you haven't got all the extra magnet underneath and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
And sonically, what are the key differences, would you say?
I'd say minis are a little bit smoother in the highs, but the Firebirds have that nice, similar to that 53 telly thing, that kind of that top, which is when it's right, it's amazing, but not piercing.
Right.
It hasn't got the frequency that goes in one ear, takes everything out, and comes out the other side. Yeah. It's got that, but with this glorious bloom around it, which is that kind of harmonic thing, richness. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, we should. We've been talking about it a lot, haven't we?
What's that?
Firebirds. We should get some on and have a listen.
Yeah, I want to get
Gravediggery.
Yep, and Phil Manzanera. Get them both on, or they can do the show.
Mil Fanzanera.
That'd be great.
We're all about the Runus Prisms tonight. This is interesting. TR4 Gym or Trafora says, why don't all guitars have 0 frets? Oh, this is an interesting question. Do you like 0 frets?
Do you know what? Actually, I do now. I didn't at first, because from a setup point of view, I was taught that you cut into the fret. You alwa's do the 0 fret like you would do a nut, and then you reprofile it and get it down. But then I realised that why don't you just fret dress it like you'd treat every other fret, and then you just do that, and from a text point of view, just makes your life so much easier. You can, because everything's dialed in, everything is level as it should be.
I have a dumb question. Do the strings touch the 0 fret?
Yeah, they should. So the nut behind the 0 fret is just there as a guide.
Yeah.
It should be the bottom of the fret of the string should not be touching.
If you don't know what a 0 fret is, check out perhaps, I don't know, Filed guitars. Who else had them? Burns had. Yeah, they do they?
Yeah, I think so.
Some Vigiers.
0 fret.
Some Burns guitars had them.
Yeah.
It's basically a fret that's right next to the nut. So the nut is a bit further away, correct?
Yeah.
And the 0 fret is where the nut would be.
And yeah, where it would end.
Yeah. And the argument from 0 fret fans is that the guitar has much better playability and better in tuneness.
Yeah, it's the whole, with the trem, you've got it's, metal's going to be more slippery than bone or plastic or whatever.
So why don't all guitars have 0 fret then?
I would hazard a guess that it's because lots of the ones that we all, from yesteryear, that we all love and want, didn't have them.
Is it harder to replace a nut to replace a 0 fret than it is to replace a nut?
You would only replace the 0 fret if you're doing a refret, because it won't wear out in the same way as a nut would wear out, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Quite often, if I'm going to do, say if I'm doing a refret, I might put something like a stainless steel or a Evo Gold, a harder material fret wire in that, just on that point, to make it last a little bit longer.
Right.
But yeah, I'd go. Yeah, you can just, if you did want to replace one, it's super easy. Just pull it out, put it in, fret dress it, done.
There we go. BV, I can't answer that question, I'm afraid. Although there might be some more information on that in due course. I might have to get some more light, boys.
Oh.
In the words of Adam Duritz, daylight's fading.
Oh, I know. We go turn the one on.
That's good. I'm using Sony's technology.
Glorious.
Okay. Let's get back to the Super Chai. Like I said, if we don't get through them all tonight, we will pick up where we left off. They will all get answered eventually, with apologies for the internet dying last week. Ed Bromiel. Hi, Ed, if you're on tonight. He says, I just wanted to send a big thank you, Dan and Mick. I'm in a gypsy jazz honky tonk band, and I had my first gig playing my Fender Esquire into an AC30 copper top. The tones were incredible.
Of course.
Thanks for turning me on to great gear. Well, yeah.
Wow.
That's not
amazing.
Not going to suck, is it? If you can turn it up. Nice. Gypsy jazz honky tonk.
Sounds good.
God loves this. Yeah, that'd be amazing.
That would be very cool. KJ Photo. Whatever else she may not or may not be, blue is one great looking guitar. Cheers from the Big Apple.
Blue is awesome.
Yeah, it's gone a bit green actually. These recent in the time I haven't been playing it.
Green with envy.
Yeah, it does. I spent a lot of time trying to make it look good with the right colour pickguard and stuff, and then been in and out of pickguard since then. It's funny because like a typical 59 to 62, 63, that sort of, that era Strat definitely looks right with the
Monty.
What's the celluloid nitrate pickguard. And I've actually bought a couple real ones over the years. To put that in perspective, like a normal pickguard's like 25 quid. A proper celluloid nitrate one is like 250 if you get it from the wrong place. But they do look right, and you can't make the plastic ones look right, and they don't shrink the same, and they've never got the right edge chatter and all that kind of stuff.
That's an interesting thing, right? Because I find it fascinating when I see an old Strat, the pickup covers, right? And then I never see like a custom shop or anything with pickup covers that look right. But when you see an old Strat, it's like, that's what an old pickup cover looks like. I mean, what is it about
I'm the same with this is going to sound like completely crazy. One of the reasons I don't want to play blue anymore is every time I look at the headstock, it's just the lacquer just looks so wrong.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Whereas
okay.
on the 61, they just even the custom shop don't look like that.
Yeah.
You know, it's just because you've seen loads of them.
Yeah, but it's when I think we spoke about it when it was in for a refret. There's that element of hand finishing that I'm sure happened, but it's just not as they just don't do it as much. It's like the top of the headstock where you get up the back of the neck, that sort of this part here.
Yeah.
On an old strap.
So specific.
On an old strap, this is all like really nicely curved over. On anything newer, even top of the tree ones, there's a line typically where it's like a
and it's a different thickness of the headstock as well.
That changed a lot.
Yeah.
Which completely goes against everything I said earlier about having too much investment in the object value of something, because clearly that's what that is that's about, really. It's just investment in the object value of it.
The identity of form.
All I'm going to say about identification with form, all I'll say about that is it's a work in progress, right?
Sure.
It's a journey.
It's
a journey. But that's but then in 64 they changed to the different pickguard material, and sometimes the Sonic Blue strap just looks absolutely right with the 64, which is a much whiter looking pickguard. So I go between the two guitar, because most 64s had the spaghetti logo, and it wasn't really until 65s that they came with the transition logo. I'll shut up. But that's when you spent so long looking at them, and all these little tiny details just become so important, which is ludicrous. It's ludicrous.
But I meant when I was in my big Vox stage, and it was exactly the same. Like one of the little brass, the little grills was missing from my original, and I've been online looking for ones. I remember we were in Denmark at that guitar show. And all these vintage things, and the guy had one, and I'm like, I paid a small fortune for it, but it's like it had to be right. No. And apparently they come from an old appliance, like a grill from an old appliance is what their Vox originally grabbed them from. But once you're if it's like collectors of anything vintage. There's a big difference between one year to another, and the value of 1 year to the other, and having it right.
I almost kind of don't want to know anymore, because then it just makes it all harder.
Totally.
Todd Roy says, did any 63 Strats have pearloid fret markers?
It's massive brain blank.
I thought it was 65 that they started doing that, but
it's clay dots until
we don't know, I'm afraid.
Maybe custom stuff, but
don't know. Sorry, Todd.
This neck's great.
It's really nice.
Good. Right, moving on. Phil, hello Phil. He says, greetings from Connecticut. Can you? What was that? Was that Airwolf? No.
No, it's Phil Collins.
Oh.
Something in the air tonight.
See, I went EastEnders.
No, that's do.
Yeah. Anyway,
please exit my public house.
Phil, that's the Phil I went with as well. Phil Mitchell.
Get out my ass. Hello from Connecticut. Can you gentlemen please enlighten me on the difference between running boost and EQ in the effects loop versus going into the front of the amp? Thank you. VCQ is my favourite thing about Mondays.
Oh, bless you, mate. So, it's all about gain staging. And you think about if you're using EQ for shaping and boost for boosting, if you have the EQ going to the front of the amplifier, you'll be shaping the tone going into the first gain stage of the amplifier, the preamp section. If you have the EQ in the loop, then you are taking the preamp section and shaping that, and then that hits the power amp. So it's like if let's say you've got a little bit of drive in your preamp, for example, and you up the
I
mids,
promise that was my foot.
and you turn up the mids in your EQ,
Sorry about this.
what will happen is the mid range will drive faster than the other frequencies because the preamp is limiting. But if you take the same EQ shape and put it in the power amp, then what you're going to get is this massive mid-range boost going into the power amp section. And similar thing for a boost, if I've got the preamp set up to be a bit dirty, that boost into the preamp section, which is the front of the amp, is going to push that preamp section into further limiting. However, if I've got it into the power amp section and the power amp has headroom, then the same boost will make it exponentially louder. But it all comes down to how you're running the amp. So if you've got a really clean amp, you might hear very little difference between running it in the front and running it in the effects loop because you've got headroom. That's the, that effects loop is basically an insert point between the preamp and the power amp. Generally, people that use that have a cleaner running power amp section so that they can have their delays and reverbs and wet effects and whatever in the loop, and they'll use the preamp to shape, to distort, to get that preamp type tone, and then they'll affect that, and then they'll use the power amp to amplify that through the speaker. But it's all about gain staging. It's about understanding how much limiting is going on in the front and the effect of pushing things into that limiting versus how much limiting is going on in the power amp section and the effect of pushing things into that. Because don't forget, depending on where the amp is set, the power amp section can easily limit as well. And the amp will get to a point where it doesn't matter if it's going in the front or in the loop, if it's cranked, because everything will be limiting. But it all depends on how you're running the amplifier.
There we go. Have you ever done that?
No, I was fairly boring. Everything went in the front.
Yeah,
That's why we like you.
Ran's there. Hello, Ran. D and M and B and K and H and R and M.
There you go. You got an initial in there.
Fabulous. I actually added M because Ran was last week and he didn't know Matt was on. So
Oh,
I added
okay.
that.
No, thank you.
He says, fabulous revisit of old favourites. They sounded bloody fire. Actually, scratch that. You did. So much fab gear to choose from. How to decide. Yeah, well, we do have that problem. Thank you, Ran, as always. Byron Krause's Big Dog. Love the show and always try to catch VCQ live. Today is a new pedal day for me. I have 2 new metal zones.
Come on,
Awesome.
stereo metal zone.
That's gonna be good.
No question, I'm just boasting.
That is brilliant. That is
Marcus
brilliant.
Reeves has a challenge for us. Hello, Marcus. If
Hello,
you're watching.
buddy.
Actually, interesting things coming from Marcus's neck of the woods via daughter board.
Oh, they
that.
look fantastic.
Really
So
cool.
Marcus's daughter Izzy is getting into building pedals, and more on that in due course. You may know all about it if you already follow Marcus's Instagram, but yeah, super interesting.
Wonderful.
Challenge. Using only clean boosts, you need to make up a pedal chain to give your core tone, overdrive, lead tone and fuzz. Using gain stacking, underdrive and overloading, you have 2 hours and can audition combinations with beers.
Oh, good.
You must use a clean headroom amp is something he also said. So only boosts.
Yeah,
That's cool.
that's a voyeurism thing for geeks. Only boost as opposed to only fans.
Yeah.
I want to know.
Got an only boosts.
I
I've
want
got
to
a channel
know.
on only boosts.
I want to
What
know,
did he
Marcus,
mean?
if we're allowed to use a treble booster, or does that count as an overdrive?
No, it's a frequency boost thing.
Yeah,
I
it
think
is.
absolutely.
Well, he's saying clean boosts. You see.
Okay.
So we'll have that little clarification, and then I think that's quite a fun challenge.
Yeah, it's a great challenge.
Ranzet, Ran says next Monday is my birthday, which would be today. Happy birthday,
Oh, happy
Ran.
birthday, buddy.
I was excited to spend some of it with you, but we'll be on the plane again. We'll watch the replay after landing. Well, when you land, Ran, happy birthday from all of us, mate. Hope you had a great birthday. And I was going to say Santa. Santa doesn't do birthdays. The birthday fairy has brought you loads of new gear.
Indeed.
Nice. Yeah.
There's a birthday card. I'm on fire today.
That was an absolute birthday chord.
It was,
I actually visualised the cake while I was hearing it.
Yeah, the
older.
joy of celebration of life.
Mike 2203. Hello, Mike. He says, I think this. So, he says, I think we should raise a toast to the great Mr. Marshall, who would have been 100 years old last Saturday.
Oh,
Cheers,
wow.
Father of Loud. Cheers, Jim. We've only got
Cheers,
water,
Jim.
but it'll have to do.
Yeah.
100 years. Wow. No question today, just a hi and thanks from Sydney, says Noah Jugow. Thank you, Noah. Right, let's see if we've got some more questions for Matt.
I'll be heading to Sydney at Christmas. And I'm going to be doing a bit of filming over there. At some point, I'll be going to... I'll be in Brisbane. Going to go to... go and see Matt, our mate at
Pedal Empire.
Pedal Empire. So that'll be fun hang. But yeah, I've organised a couple of things to do. Minnie, that
Oh yeah, Minnie Marks.
gonna go and see her and hang
Are
out.
you?
Yeah,
Just how good is she?
she's amazing.
Have you seen Minnie
She
Marks?
is
No, I haven't.
Oh, man, I
amazing.
have to show you.
Yeah, definitely.
So good. Damon Chivers is on.
Ha! Damo.
Damon used to work for Fender, right?
Yeah, he still works for Fender, doesn't he?
Does he? I don't know.
But he used
Hello,
to work
Damon.
at Chandler's. That's when I
Oh,
first
did he?
started. He was there. He was there.
He had a very nice 66 custom shop Strat, as I remember.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, he says, Matt is truly a tone god. So glad to see how well he's doing. Just a boy when we met at Chandler's 20 years ago.
That's 20 years ago. Over 20 years ago, actually, Damon. Yeah. He sold...
20 years ago.
Yeah. No, it was 2000. 2001.
Wow.
Damon sold me... I went to the Guitar Institute, and when the guy called Martin Golden, who was teaching the rock stuff,
Martin, yeah.
he said I couldn't. I had a telly at the time, and he said you can't learn rock with just a telly. You've got to get something with all these frets. So I went, and Damon sold me an Ibanez RG. He did it typical. It's thing. That boy can play.
How long did you keep it?
I sold it when I got the job at Chandler's. So about a year later.
Yeah. I kept mine for 3 months. I just didn't understand the lock-in bridge thing. Just couldn't understand it.
I used one of those for years. Because I was into all the...
Yeah. Oh, you can make some great noises.
Yeah.
They're really cool. But it was really weird. It had on the D string, from the F, third fret to the fifth. It was a buzz on it. No matter what gauge string I had it fret dressed and then plecked as well. We refretted it. This is all when I'd started my apprenticeship and couldn't get rid of it. It was just like a weird buzz that was just on those three frets.
Interesting.
Odd.
I remember, because I had a gem. I remember one day playing one of the Joe Satriani guitars.
Yeah.
I thought it was an amazing thing. It was so comfortable. That body shape and the neck was just like effortless to play.
It's kind of more stratty.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was different than a lot of the Ibanez's I played. Just thought that was a really really cool thing. But yeah, I haven't played an Ibanez in. I tell a lie, the Andy Timmons, but that's not an Ibanez. But you know what I mean? It's like
it's not the shreddy.
It's not a gem, yeah.
It's not. Yeah, it's a world away from a gem. It's
Yeah, I must admit, but the thing that, among everything else about it, the thing that turned me off the most was the wide flat neck. I just couldn't
the gem
get with that.
Yeah.
And not because some people love that, and that's the point, isn't it? That's the point of playing loads of guitars and
find the one that fits.
Fine, yeah. John W777 says, is Mick on the right, stage left, because he's closer to the window? No, just in case I need to get there. There's a access to buttons and things over there, so that you can't get out that side, which is why that's happening.
Design.
Lots of people are a bit annoyed that me and Dan are on the wrong side. Steve Cassidy guitar. Okay, Matt, I think this could segue into a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
He says, on a Strat, do you ever reduce the tone control on the middle or neck pickup? And I think where that's going is, why are the tone controls attached to the middle of the neck and not the bridge on a vintage style Strat? And I will answer your question by saying, no, I literally never do.
I don't know many people that do. Hence, there are so many mods to use those knobs for other things.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really know why it's not on the bridge. But I guess it's just a cut thing, or it was just an extra wire they didn't want to solder on. I don't know.
So you sell kits, don't you? Pre-wired kits. Do you sell? Can you, off the top of your head, would you know how many have the bridge pickup wired to the tone control?
George would be the man for that.
Okay.
He's in the other room.
George will tell us if he's still here.
But I'd quite a lot more. It's more bridge tones than it is treble bleeds.
Yeah.
Now, I'd say, again, George may correct me, but yeah, I mean, it's the one thing that it's the Strat problem, isn't it? You know, it's just that having a bridge pickup that's just too cutting.
Yeah.
Here it comes.
Here it comes. What do we reckon, George?
About 50-50.
Okay, cool.
50-50. I'm going to do the unthinkable to the 61 because it's been rewired and stuff inside already.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, and to my... I'm not going to say to my annoyance because I did know the volume pot isn't original. So I'm going to swap out the volume pot for a 275, which I got.
Nice.
And I'm going to put the tone control on the bridge pickup and get it off the neck pickup.
Okay.
Purely as not as because I dislike the sound of the guitar, but purely for the experimentation, because I actually like the sound of the bridge pickup on that guitar.
I love the sound of the bridge pickup on that guitar.
So it might be that the only pot that has a tone control on it ends up being the middle one.
Interesting.
But it also might be that the 275k volume pot gives the extra spank
that you need the tone
that
control
I would
for.
quite like out of the neck pickup.
Right, so then you can back it off.
What do you think about that?
I think you would have to sort of, it's literally one of those things you would try out.
Yeah.
But
do you find in general that if you go from a 250 to a 280, that makes a significant difference, or no difference, or some difference?
There will be, you will notice something.
Yeah.
It all goes into how tuned in your ears are to that particular guitar with that setup.
Yeah.
The biggest leap I've ever heard for just in pots wasn't necessarily the value, it was the type of resistor that was in the in it. So you go from the carbon style, which is all what we're used to, and then to something like conductive plastic, which again, this is Steve Crow Audio Kitchen put me onto this, and the top end response was just insane. It was crazy.
Even with same resistance?
Same resistance, everything. It's just...
Wow.
Everything is just... And it just opens everything up. The problem being is the pots that... the ones that are good are... I think last time I bought one, it was 25 quid, 30 quid for one pot. You know, so it's a lot more expensive.
But see, that... I mean, I have so much... Just... I'm in awe of Steve, and... Nothing is too much effort for him to get the absolute best. I mean, he'll sit there, winds his own transformers, and it's like he tried all the transformers and no, I know exactly what I want. I know how to do it, and I'm going to make my own. And and he'll audio test cable and stuff, and he says there'll always be a direction that. To be that, and he's like, you think, that's taking it a bit too far, but then you can't really argue with the results. You know, his stuff's amazing. Yeah, it's great. It's just that thing that's like, there no compromise. There is nothing. You know, there's nowhere he's not willing to go to make it perform exactly how he sees it performing.
Or at least ask the question.
Yeah, totally.
Does this make a difference?
Yeah.
And if it makes a big enough difference to you, do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do what sounds good.
We'll see. You. Actually, on that subject, somebody did ask earlier. I mentioned there was a new strat vlog coming up. It's done. It's finished. It'll either be next week or the week after. This coming Friday or the following Friday. It's on the bridge setup. So I go through fully floating, flat to the body, and completely decked or blocked. And blocked.
It's the most stunning. I've never seen the amount of work that's gone into this vlog and how visually beautiful it is. I'll probably never do a vlog again after seeing, because it's a whole new level.
There's probably about 8. I've watched it about 4 times through. Going, I almost showed it to Matt and I went, can you watch this and tell me what I've forgotten? Because there'll be 3 or 4 key things I've forgotten. But it's just from my perspective. There's no new technical information, right? Because that's already all out there. There's nothing new to say about how to do it, but perhaps the approach, and we still get asked all the time. I still get asked all the time, how do I play this thing in tune? So I go through 3 options and just explain some mechanics about how it works, show you stuff like the difference in the screws and the 2 bolts that you would expect on the 2 different main types, just because I think it would clarify a little bit about how they work and how to get the best out of them. I don't get into Kahlers or Floyds or V-Trems or anything like that. It's just the standard 6-screw vintage bridge and the 2-post American standard type one. So, and you know those things upside down and inside out.
Upside down, around. Yeah.
So this, you know the Carl Verheyen.
Yeah.
Is that, somebody said Jeff Beck did that too? Is that right? Do we?
Yeah, that's. I was told by his name escapes me. But it's Jeff Beck's tech.
I don't know, unfortunately.
I can't remember. Anyway, but he was the one who told, I think it was Brinsley at Chandler's, and I just sort of happened to earwig, but that whole more tension on the bass side, I thought for the longest time I thought it was rubbish, and there was a Strat which I had in and I just couldn't get it in tune. It was one of those ones where every other string bar the low E would be fine, and the low E would just be like and all out, and I didn't want to try it. I was being so stubborn. And then tried it, and now I do it on everything.
So this is on, and if you look at the back of a Strat, you'll see a claw.
In fact, I think that one should be done like that. Yeah.
Can you see how the claw at the bass side is screwed further in than it is on the treble side?
Yes,
and you swear by that.
Yeah. No, it's just I do it as standard because then. Since doing it like this, I haven't had to fight at all, or do any of the other weird tricks. The strings are very old and out of tune.
I think someone's nicked a spring out of this.
Yeah, it's full of character.
So I mentioned it in the video. I talk that Matt's an advocate and that Carl Verheyen is an advocate. Is that a Golden Age body as well?
Yep.
Flipping heck, man.
Yeah, no, he knocks it out of the park with that one.
That is killer.
That's our 50.
That's killer.
And actually, that's got the old style nylon pickup covers on. Which looks slightly different to the...
Yeah.
That's the difference.
This softer edges. Yeah. Okay. I've seen a few Carl Verheyen videos lately. Man, he's unbelievable.
He doesn't suck, does he?
No, he has no suck. He is anti-suck. Yeah, but really beautiful, melodic, thoughtful. It's all there. Amazing.
I think he's had a new record out.
Right.
I think it came up in my Apple new records. Carl Verheyen, if you didn't get that. Anyway, so yeah, that'll either be the bridge Strat thing will be either this Friday or the following Friday. Rhino Jam, he says, happy Monday. I'd love to learn more about your favourite amps and manufacturers. How about doing a tour of Two Rock and Matchless? Thoughts on why they're both in California, and if you happen to do a live Q&A in California, ... Oh, well, that would be lovely. All we need to do is go to California. California.
Right, nice.
Would be ace. Would be ace. Fender Jeff. Hello, Fender Jeff. I ran a wet dry wig this weekend. A wet dry wig.
Dry wig?
A wet dry rig at the same volume on the volume knob. It seemed like my amps were much louder in volume than normal. I normally run a single amp with 2, but with wet dry was running each at 2. Is this normal? Sorry, at 3, but with wet dry each at 2. Is this normal? Yes.
Yeah, because...
We've got 2 amps.
Yeah, so there's a clarity thing that happens with the wet dry. And I think a lot of time when we're turning up, it's because it's a reflex that we think we can't hear what we're doing. And so instinctively we're trying to get the amps louder. But when you've got the wet dry thing going on and you've got that dry amp and you've retained all the clarity on, an amount more clarity from the dry amp, and then you can put those wet effects and they sit on top. It's like that thing we're talking about with the tape delay, where the repeats, they just sort of sit on top of everything differently to any other. The process creates a sound or creates an effect, and it's the same thing with wet dry. Because you're retaining the clarity with that dry amp, you can actually get quite wet without losing the attack. It's a wonderful thing, and I find it now, like when we do experience days, because I don't, I haven't done a gig since we played with Andy, something that I'm desperate to rectify. But when we have people over for the experience days and we give them a tour through our own rigs, and I have the amps, the matchless and the bassman, and individually you hear them and it's not incredibly loud, but when they're on together it's like flipping heck, man. It really is. It's something else.
Did I just hear someone's stomach growling, says John O'Neill?
Yes.
Yeah,
that would be me.
Be Dan, maybe? Yeah. Probably no meat feast tonight because there's a little drive back. Steve Pryor is Jeff Beck's tech, says BV. Thank you. Jim Overholt says, have you tried the new Marshall JCM Studio 20? Tom Buckovac tried it and he loves it. Haven't tried it yet, but yes, we did talk about it.
Must get one.
Personal Nadir, question for Matt. Any plans to revive the What Goes On podcast?
I would love to. It's a podcast I did with Steve Crow. But it's just, before it was Steve and I had workshops next to each other. And it's just, he's really busy, I'm really busy. So fingers crossed at some point would be amazing. But it's just, just hope and pray. One of those. Yeah, it was good fun.
Mike 2203, Monty's Danish Pete signature 51T pickup set was suggested by Andertons when they did the budget purple Honore Squire Strat. Can Matt tell us about these, please?
The tees.
The Danish Pete tees.
With its Pete's the pickups that are in the original purple telly were, I think, wasn't it? I can't remember if I get the numbers right, but I think there were 3 purple tellies made for, it was either Frankfurt or NAMM or some one of those shows, and Pete ended up with 1. But when I actually took it all apart, it was meant to have a no-caster in the bridge, and was it a twisted telly or something?
It was a very common choice around that time.
But the bridge, first of all, the bridge pickup was all off. It was it was really slanted towards the front, and that the one that was originally in it had a stagger, which no caster would. It was like this.
Did it?
Yeah.
With bevels?
No bevels. So it's just like
wow.
Not a huge one. It was just, and it kind of, out of two E's were flat, and the A and the B a little bit up, and one of those. And what I thought, just from my experience with guitars that are put together at last minute for shows, and having to put stuff together last minute for shows myself, sometimes you'll just sort of grab whatever's there, and it could be something that you're mucking around with, a prototype stuff. I mean, if you open up any of these drawers down here, there's like bits of pickups and all kinds of stuff, and I think it's not an Ocaster, it's just slightly different. It just gives it that slightly different attack, gives it all these, there's lots of little things, and as always we're talking about that final 1%. But yes, it's literally that, so it's trying to recreate that tone, which again is that bridge pickup especially is really big sounding, really clear, but it's got that punchy kind of top thing.
Patience, my pet.
What wire did you choose?
That one, that's got 43 plain enamel. So that's the broadcaster.
So the thinner wire.
Broadcaster, no caster style thing.
With A5.
With A5 has the stagger. It's also to get it to have the same attack as that pickup. What we've been talking about. It's just like you can't. Sometimes you can't use the same materials. That won't give you the same response. So the one on Pete's has got a slightly thicker base plate, and then we got it nailed, and then Pete was just like, could you put a little bit more? He just wanted a little bit more punchy, because that's the only thing he was missing. He's in those pickups. So we'll do that, and then that's what they are. How did you
achieve that? What did more punchy turn out to be?
In that case, that was a few more wines, and also just made the bobbin slightly taller, which means that then all those wines that are sort of further out kind of get a bit slightly closer into the magnetic field, which then gives you that punch. That's what you get.
It's amazing. I love that you know that through presumably thousands
failing
of times.
many times. Succeed or learn.
Steve Rideout. Hello, Steve. Nice to hear from you. Steve came to an experience day. He says, thanks for the great experience day in June. I managed to keep the Iverson and the SG.
Oh, so, my goodness, that Iverson.
He brought in a couple of guitars that he was thinking about buying, and we nearly ended up with one of them. But
because he was saying, I can only get one.
Yeah.
And we're like, no. You have to have both. I mean, we're terrible. They're amazing guitars. That Iverson, oh my goodness.
Off the charts.
Is it Iverson guitar?
I think it's Iverson.
Iverson, okay. It was kind of Firebird inspired, wasn't it?
Yeah, it had the middle, the raised middle bit.
Yeah, it was like a single cut, but made like a Firebird.
Yeah.
Oh no, I've seen a couple of those at shows. It's so nice. It was really nice.
It was a unique guitar in all the good ways.
Yeah.
I.e., you picked it up and you're like, wow, this is different, but not this is different. I don't want to play it. It was like, this is different. This has got something really.
It's got that classic, all the good stuff from all those classic shapes and everything, but just sort of battered into shape. Do you know what I mean? That's what they feel like. Yeah. Really great.
What was an experience day? The last experience day, someone brought in a guitar, Providence.
Marlin Sidewinder.
I'm not sure. It was the same make from when we were at Keeley's booth in NAMM years ago. I was playing that guitar, and it was the same make as that.
I can't remember. Someone will tell us in the.
I think it was Providence guitars, or is that something?
That's
these
one.
guys. Okay, what? Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
someone will
else.
tell us.
But that was a. Oh no! That wasn't an experience day. That was someone that came into the office.
I was going to say I don't remember seeing one of those.
And you know what? I picked it up and played it, and it was the same feeling I had back with Robert Keeley. But it's fascinating. There are some, we love the vintage stuff. We love all the, the takes on the tellies and strats and stuff. But man, there are some amazing guitar makers out there doing incredible things.
100%.
And you can still pick up a guitar. You know, we've played thousands of guitars. Still being able to pick up a guitar with a neck that surprises you. It's like, this is... I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. It's so great.
Yeah, that's what I had when I had this. Got this when Kev came in with this. It was literally, it's just it's when you sit down with it and then half an hour's gone by and you don't even realise it's that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then you have to hide your wallet. He says he swapped out the Terraform for a Ripley Fall. Sounds good. Did Brandon mention his great band, the Ruxpins? He didn't, but now he has. The Ruxpins, Ruxpins, Brandon, who also came to one of our experience days on the day that Steve came. Nice to hear from you, Steve. Mr. Witt 30, to pair with a car Rambler, a Winfield Cyclone 60s AC15 style, or the new Marshall ST20C.
Yes.
I haven't played the Winfield, so I couldn't say. Is that what you've got, Marcus Reeves? Winfield? No.
Have you played a car Rambler?
I have, but it was so long ago I don't remember it well enough. Lots of people really love them.
Dave Gregory got one, and Far Out Man, what an amplifier!
Really?
Yeah, it's the best low volume that style amplifier. They do that voltage thing on the tubes. They just have a way to attenuate it that still retains the ampiness. It's astonishing. Yeah. Really, really amazing.
It's the question I never want to ask. But what, if you were going to put it leaning towards, you know, the big stuff, would you say it's more Fendery, Marshall-y, Voxy?
It's like a fat Princeton-y thing.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah, no, it's pretty amazing.
So Carr call it the perennial pedal platform.
Right.
American voice combo. Let's see. What do we know about it? 26 watts. Pair of 6L6s.
Okay.
Or 5881s.
Right.
Okay, so it's, that is useful information, Mr. Witt. I don't know the Winfield Cyclone. Given that it's a 60s AC15 style, our AC15, which is a modern Vox reissue, right, so quite different presumably from the Winfield. In any case, our modern AC15 reissue might be a little bit underpowered for a dual 6L6 amp to go alongside it, depending how loud you play, of course, because if you play not very loud and the car isn't overdriving very much, then it might be the AC15's fine. But if you get up to sort of, if that car is starting to work and it's starting to do its thing and it's starting to breathe, which is going to be pretty loud, loud enough to play with a live drummer easily peasily, it might be that the AC15 starts to crap out a bit.
Yeah, but I guess it depends on the job you using the AC15 for. If all it's doing is adding a bit of chime and a little bit of that limiting thing that Vox does, it could be magic. But one thing, so 26 watts with a pair of 6L6s, so you have to imagine that that's cathode bias.
Yeah.
So sort of, because if it's a pair of 6L6s and it's fixed bias, of course depending on the output transformer and that sort of stuff, but normally you'd be getting a lot more power out of those two. So if it is cathode bias, it might be, because I know that like the J20 has got 6L6's cathode bias, and
that's loud as pigs.
It is loud as pigs, but it has volume, but it's always, as soon as it starts to push, it's always a bit dirty.
Okay.
Because
it's the Tweedy type thing.
Yes, the Tweedy type thing, but also the power transformer, because as soon as it starts to take any sort of current, the power transformer sort of gives up a bit, and that's what gives it all this. It's really fascinating. We did this. Jesse showed me. AB just changed the power transformer out, And because you used to work with Jesse
Yeah,
and make those
yeah,
amps.
Doesn't make any difference, Dan, if you watch certain
Doesn't make
videos on
any
the
difference.
internet.
No, but it's incredible because all of a sudden you turn up, the notes were just blooming, and put the different power transformer in there, and it's like the difference was incredible.
Yeah. Okay, so zooming out then, what we've got with the car is, let's say, a Fender, broadly speaking, a Fender voiced amp. The Winfield is going to be Vox style, and obviously the Marshall is going to be Marshall style. So would you go Fender and Vox or Fender and Marshall?
It's so hard to go past Fender and Vox.
Yeah.
I just such a magic combination. Saying that, I think where the mids are in a Vox and a Marshall, they do sit in a similar place. The Marshall has a different, because generally they've got more power, so you can get a bit more weight in the bottom end.
Yeah.
But if what you're looking to do is add that British voice mid range, either or, really.
Yeah. So these guys would go with the Winfield. I haven't heard it, but if it sounds like an AC-15, I would go with the Marshall.
Yeah.
So I can't do EL84s. You guys love them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Alan
Nice
Twilly,
context.
hello Alan. I'm looking for a blues rock amp. I can't decide between a Princeton, a deluxe, or a super reverb. Volume is no issue as I have an attenuator. It's unlikely the attenuator will work with the super because they're 2 ohms.
Yeah.
And there aren't many attenuators that are 2 ohms, but if it will do 2 ohms, great. Chaps, Princeton or a deluxe?
I love the Princeton, but deluxe every day of the week for me.
Yeah, I'd go deluxe as well.
Yeah, I would too, just because it's a bit more... better control of the bottom end. Princeton tends to flub out on the bottom end a bit, which some people absolutely love with the standard 10. Some people love less. It also is a bassier, it seems to let more bass out.
Yeah.
For want of a better way of explaining that. Deluxe reverb, once it gets into that overdrive bit, people don't believe this till they hear it with their own ears. It's something we do on experience days. I get a deluxe reverb, we start at 3, we go to 5, we go to 7, and we crank it. And the jaws drop as people are like, hang on, are you sure that's not a Marshall?
Yeah.
It's like, no, it's brilliant for that job.
Yeah.
So we would say deluxe if you can play that loud. If you can't play that loud, maybe the Princeton will get into overdrive a bit quicker, but do think about changing that speaker out. A higher power speaker like a Celestian Alnico Gold 10 will work. Or there's plenty of Princetons out there that came as standard with a 12.
They sound good.
Yeah, with the special editions.
Do they have a blue in them?
Some did, some had, there was all kinds of things.
Right.
Yeah, they've done loads over the years. Unless you have the luxury of playing super loud, a super is just bonkers loud. And I would say not as good a blues rock sound, more a blues sound.
Yeah. I think traditionally, but Paul Stacey's got a super, and it's the most rock and roll amplifier I've ever heard in my life.
What is it though?
Exactly. It's beaten to anything, this old thing. And I just remember him grabbing his 60, I think it's a 61 SG that he's got. And he plugged in the super and turned it up, and it was like, that's it. That is it. It was the most insane guitar sound.
And it's him.
It's exactly.
Dan Black. Matt, do you have any plans to do Jaguar pickups? I've got some of his 59 Jazzmasters, which I really love. It would be amazing to have something similar for my Jag.
Yes. Simply, we've got quite a lot of stuff actually all ready to go. It's just getting them ready at the right time. But in the next short period of time, there will be original Jazzmaster Jaguars and some full Monty ones. Working on some others, but yeah, definitely.
We've been talking about getting the Jazzmaster and the Jag up together.
Yeah.
So that'd be really fun. Because also I want to take the Jag up because I want to get someone very jaggy to sign it.
Okay.
A chap came to see us last week, and I've forgotten his name. I'm so sorry because I'm a little bit forgetful.
Davo, Brendan, Steve-O, Jonathan.
I want to say Dan, but it wasn't
Quinton.
Dan. It was Josh or James or, oh God, I'm so sorry. We swapped our JTM 45 for a Bluesbreaker combo.
Right.
He brought in a 62 Jaguar, which is the best Jag I have ever played. And I started playing it and I did not want to put it down. And I've never done that with a Jag before.
Wow.
So that was when I texted you and I was like,
let's get them together.
we need to get our Jag and Jazz, because they remain unloved, those guitars.
They do.
Because they need help. They need an expert
I'd gladly help.
to whip them into shape.
Did I tell you, I saw Johnny Marr live. Went to London and saw him do his thing. Far out, man. He's still got it. Like, he's really still got everything. And I didn't know he could sing like that. He's an awesome singer. And he did like loads of Smith tunes. My daughter was losing her mind. It was brilliant. Yeah, it's great.
He is incredible. The sounds he can get, it's just...
It is really wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
There's a connection there that's so much more than the sum of its parts.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
He has such a deep love of guitars, and it has drawn this incredible music out of him, and he really appreciates and understands the value of having that thing in his hands. And it's like Noel said, you walk away after talking to Johnny and you think our guitarists are the best people in the world. Yeah. So that is happening. We're going to go and have a talk to Mr. Marr. Mr. Marr.
It's very cool.
It's very cool.
It's very cool indeed. Right, let's see if we can. Sorry, we've gone a bit over time. Few more to go then. 40-watt podcast. As I age, I find my pedal board shrinking. It's not that I don't love pedals, but I find that I'm using less and less since dialing in my guitar and amp preferences. Is this what being a boomer feels like?
Yeah, look, I think it's cyclical. I think we all go through...
Boomers didn't use pedals. Boomers are strongly anti-pedals, aren't they?
I don't know. I think they have loads of pedals, but they...
Boomers would be mine and Dan's parents.
Yeah.
People born...
No, I think that stuff is cyclical. I think I certainly go through phases where I am just so enamored by the possibility of signal chains and parallel stuff and the wet dry, and then there'll be days where I plug into the little bass breaker. I've got it sitting at home and it's like, oh yeah, this is great. And maybe with an overdrive and a delay, and think, yeah, this is all I need. Actually, I just need to stick a flange of this. You know what's really cool with this is second delay. In half an hour, I'm back to the big board. But yeah, I think going through periods where you pair everything right back to the things you really need. I think they're really they're periods of growth in your playing, because you get in touch with what you can just draw out of the guitar by keeping it simple, and then things get added on, and then
Have you been through that, Matt? Have you ever been like a loads of pedals person, or not so much?
God, yeah. I've again, it was a typical got a job in a guitar store and was in a band at the same time, and I had ended up with 2 pedal boards. I looked like Mike Enzinger, from Incubus. It was like this 2 huge things, and then got a session gig with this band called The Puzzle, which was literally just like rock and roll. Had a Les Paul Jr. AC30 tuner. That was it, and it was just And then I like pedals, so it kind of slowly builds up. I've got an ever-growing collection, which has weirdly grown since I've stopped playing live. And because before I had a pedal board, and that was all I had.
Yeah.
And then if I needed something or wanted something had to go. And it was just that's how I did it. But now I've got one of the, it's embarrassing really to say, but I've got one of the, this in primary schools. There's like a little. Well, it wasn't my one. It was like a shelf on shelf thingy on wheels that had all the books on it for the
Yeah.
library. You know those. I found one of those on like eBay or some other thing, and now I've got one of those with pedals on both sides.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Color coordinated and in pedal chain order.
Lovely.
Which is just so yeah.
Well played.
But I do find that what you say is just going all out, but then pairing it back, or just changing stuff up. It makes you play differently, and then you find different things, and that's the magic. And then you kind of build on that, and that's what I find really fascinating.
There's a gentleman, Nathan, that works for the. Used to work for the London Symphony Orchestra. Now works for.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Another symphony orchestra. I think the
Bognor Regis Symphony Orchestra.
Yeah. Like
Great, by the way.
He's stage manager, production manager for these guys, and he also makes pedals. And he makes this booster like a green, like called the green ringer or something like that. Like this really odd booster. And he said, "Oh, let me know what you think." And I was recording some guitar parts just finishing off the EP. And I had one more solo to do, and I was feeling really uninspired. This is, and then that pedal was sat there, and I thought, I wonder. And I plugged it into the bass breaker, turned it up, was like, this is awesome. And it's like a low octave octaver using the same technology, but you don't get that thing. You get this rumble, and it was just awesome, and it just pulled something completely different out of it.
Well, that's the true spirit of it, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
If you have the wherewithal to be doing that, I'm doing a few gigs at the moment, either small function type gigs with a small band or sitting in with other mates' bands, and I just put on the board what I need, which is usually not very much. So a couple of overdrives, delay, and harmonious monk. And then if a song's got something, I'm going to go out and play with Ainsley again, do a couple of gigs with Ainsley.
Oh, cool.
And one of the songs we do is called Hurricane, and that's got a big keyboard part in it, so I use a Leslie on that for that sound. So it's like what's needed, which is totally different than the kind of exhibition board we have ready for when people come in for experience days, which is like kitchen sink. But so I think it's quite nice, I think, to have your big board, but then have a little something or other that you can just pick stuff off and smaller and more select. That's half the fun of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then, like we were talking about earlier, being sort of forced down that simplification route where you're required to think about it a bit more about what you're playing.
Yeah.
I like that. And I also, with a big board, I quite often find, especially if it's a gig where the set list isn't necessarily completely set, so it might change about a bit, or a couple of things might get called that you weren't expecting. I find I end up using like the same overdrive for most of the night anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And then a boost if you need to play a solo or whatever.
If you're going into something that you haven't rehearsed specific parts for, and like when we do a TPS gig and the songs are eclectic, so there's a lot going on, and it's very rehearsed, and we work out the sounds, and there's a specific number of pedals and stuff we need to do that.
Set in stone, isn't it?
Yeah. But if you're just going to go and sit in with a band and jam, you there's a lot. You don't like mix it, a couple of drives and a delay or a reverb.
You're done.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll speed up a little bit for these last few questions because we have overrun a bit tonight, with apologies to everyone. Jeremiah McCann. Hi, Jeremiah. Nice to hear from you as always. He says, if the custom shop wanted to partner for a limited run, what guitars are you making? Colour, pickups, specs, etc. So we can each pick one, I reckon.
Oh, I would say I go I'm looking for an SG at the moment. I've got one I'm trying out, and it's great, because I wouldn't the tellies I've got, I couldn't replace them. There's no point me doing that.
So you think Fender Custom Shop will be up for making you an SG?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
It's
SG caster.
no, okay. So, no. Here's what I
A
want.
sharp-horned double
No.
cutaway mahogany telly.
Okay, so Fender Custom Shop. It would be a solid body, custom, dual wide range humbuckers, 70s headstock,
Nice.
but with a tremolo.
Okay, Matt.
Me, I'd. Oh God. Whatever it would either be a telly or a jazz master, I think, and it would have to be sparkly.
Nice.
Okay. Pine silver sparkle, surf green sparkle, jazz master, matching headstock with. Oh my God. I just got overexcited just thinking about that. But yeah, some crazy anodized.
I love your love of sparkle guitars.
Yeah, it's a problem. It's a problem. I'm quite happy with the problem. But yeah, some sort of fancy anodized guard too, like really, really, really bling. You know, the whole reason the whole sparkly thing started was because I was in this band and I was the shortest by a country mile. And I just needed to be like...
You need to stand out.
It's like, I mean, I love sparkly stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong. But it was just like, look at me too. It was basically
Awesome.
that. Basically that.
Okay. I'm going for a guitar I'm going to call the 596.3 Strat. And it's not like a PRS thing where it's got 59 pickups and 3 sounds. It's not that. It's 59.63. So I'm going to pick all my favourite specs between
nice.
59 and 63 of Strats and make them together in one guitar. So the neck profile is going to be 63 with the ridiculous increased depth and the chunky behind the nut. The pickups will be somewhere 61-ish, maybe 60, something like that. And then various other specs specific to that era in 2 versions.
You haven't thought about this at all, have you?
The first one is going to be a transition era 59 type with maple.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's a few in 59 that still had the maple. Or maybe they were late 58 and they went to 3-colour sunburst before. So anyway, with maple, but roasted maple obviously, so it looks a bit darker. And then another version, and then that would be sparkle.
Good choice.
Sonic blue. Sparkle Sonic blue, right? With roasted maple.
God shivers.
And then the later one, the rosewood board, is going to be a sparkle sunburst.
Oh, come on.
That's amazing.
And I know I'm stealing Matt's sparkle thing here, but I too
I'm spreading the sparkly love. I mean, just
love
put it everywhere.
sparkle guitars, and I have seen a sparkle sunburst, and it looks so cool.
That my custom shop would be Sunburst. It would be beaten to...
You hate sunburst?
No, see, this would be the only guitar
Ah,
because there's something about that Tele Custom body shape because it would have the
Yeah, yeah.
belly cut and that,
Yeah.
the big headstock, but like a dark Sunburst beaten up to with the tremolo.
That would
that
look
would
incredible.
be just awesome. I would love that.
Hobo Roadie says a double bound Strat instead with stereo.
Come on.
Actually, you're tinkering with stereo right, at the moment.
Yeah,
aren't you?
yeah.
Okay,
Just-
more about that in due course. Okay, sorry, I said we're going to speed up and we've totally slowed down. Elvis Band, Aaron, hey mate, he says the review for Shark Sandwich was just a 2-word review.
They can't print that.
If you were to travel to a distant planet and show the power of rock, what would you show them? I would play them Everlong, presumably by the Foo Fighters. All My Love.
tribute to Tenacious D?
Oh, that's a good choice.
Yeah.
I've gone completely blank because you've got this. It's not rock, but I go Just by Radiohead.
Okay.
It's just that chorus thing when it comes in. It's really like do that potentially.
I'm going River by Joni Mitchell.
Very nice.
It's the heaviest thing. It's once you know what that song is about, it's heavier than anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
There you go. David Rogel. Hello, David. He says, hi, thanks as always for the great shows. I was wondering if you could mention some of your favourite mid-forward fuzzes. I don't like a big scoop. What are the heavy hitters that have a thick, solid mid-range?
Any nice sounding Mark II tone bender. They're great with humbuckers, and they do have a different mid-range character. A really great one is this Stone Bender by Throwback, because you've got a couple of switching options there depending on the guitar that you're using, whether you're using single coils or humbuckers or whatever. It retains the classic tone bender thing, but you can even tighten up the bottom end a bit more, blah blah blah. That and the percolator, harmonic percolator.
Oh yeah, by Frederick, is it, or somebody?
It's actually the version that I've got is by Pig Dog.
Pig Dog, okay. It seems that I have an apology to make. Apparently the Mac that's doing the streaming is binging with notifications. Because it's Catherine's Mac, so I don't know how to turn those off. I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry.
Brilliant.
Sorry about that. Thanks, BV, for the thing. Are you into mid-range type fuzzes?
I've delved into the fuzzier side of things. I like the what's the Thorpe?
Mushroom Cloud or Fallout Cloud?
No,
Veteran.
That's the one.
There you go.
That's really good.
So you go with that.
I'd go with that.
Yeah, I think Dan's on the right lines. I like the Zonks. I'm massively into Zonk machines at the moment. Which are they're so variable, so trying to recommend one is very difficult because they are so variable.
Well, the Thorpe Boneyard would be a really good one as well.
Does he still make it? Did he run out of transistors?
I don't know if if it's the same as the original.
Yeah.
He might have some different transistor ones, but that thing is far out, man.
It's a whole other world. I mean, despite loving fuzz and being really into it, as Dan and I are, there are so many small makers like Mike from Seeker Effects, so many offerings from Marcus Reeves,
R2R.
R2R. I think you'd find something in that world. Marcus alone has got such a wide range of stuff available.
Really
his Zoe is spectacularly good.
Yeah.
Zoe for Zonk. Well, and Jimmy Page, but anyway, whole other story. So yeah, good luck with that. And there are plenty of Big Muff clones available with mid-range controls. Did you say that?
No, I didn't mention Big Muff.
We had one on the show just recently. It was basically a Big Muff with a mid-range control, which was really, 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 really good. Chris Quinn, I bought a 78 Mistress, said Chris Quinn. Why is that circuit so hard to do a proper modern take on?
It's so interesting.
I don't believe in magic, but after trying many others, 78 is it.
You know what? I put my original on my board, and so there's something about, it's not just the chipset, which obviously you can't get and haven't been able to get for a long time. Sometimes the resistors will drift in just a particular way, and it sort of free bias, and so that circuit is so interesting. Instead of there's a brightness to it. So what they do is they punch a whole bunch of top end and treble into the delay chip and then filter it out at the other end. so that, and when they filter it out, they bring the treble back down to a normal thing, but they also get rid of the noise.
Yeah.
So it's, I mean, it's so clever. It's so clever. And it just has a thing. There are some people out there that do some really great clones of it. So you've got the electric mattress, the mattress, I think
Elastic mattress.
Elastic
awesome.
Mattress, by Past Effects, and there's a couple more, and they really understand the difference. But I mean, I must have played, a dozen original mistresses, and they all sound different. But there's a thing they've all got, and there's a little bit of magic. It really is an astonishing thing.
But we think it's the way the top end is filtered. We think it's, or not filtered.
Yeah.
We think it's that original chipset. And of course, they were built to a budget, these things.
It's just the flimsiest. Look at this. If you Google a picture of a original Electric Mistress circuit board, just have a look at the nonsense, the absolute disaster of a layout.
Rick has loaded up a stogie into a bazooka.
So there's a thing on the Electric Mistress that where you got 3 knobs on the Mistress. There's speed, color, and depth, and one knob on the left hand side. The start point is at the bottom. It goes around to the right. The knob on it's the start point's at the middle and goes around sort of at to 9 o'clock. The one on the middle starts where you'd think, and the one on the right starts at like 12 o'clock and goes back around. I mean, it's all over the place. You think, why have they done that? You look inside, it's a square circuit board, and they've just bent the lugs for the pots over and soldered them direct on. So on the sides, they're like that, and on the top, they're like this. It's like, oh, that's why the knobs are set like that, because, I mean, it's a disaster. But, what a sound. What a sound.
We would say idiosyncratic design and build is what we would say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, come on, let's race to the finish. We've gone half an hour over. Charles HD, hi DNM, I saw G. Smith and Jim Whedon last week.
Wow.
On their Masters of the Telecasters. Amazing celebration. Dan, where does your Les Paul fit into your rig when you've got 3 amazing tellies?
It took me a long time to find that guitar because it's what the Les Paul I was after needed to be bright because it needed to sit in with the Telecasters, and it does. I can just plug it in and use lower gains sounds, and it just sounds fantastic. And I'll use it sparingly, but anything that I wanted. So the last TPS band gig we did, I used it in what was the Ray Charles song we did?
Oh yeah, Drown in My Own Tears.
Yeah, and I played it on that because I was only just putting little bits of, flurry in there. But Nick was singing that and playing all the rhythm, and every now and then I just interject with a little, and the Les Paul was perfect for that. 80% of the time I'm playing a Telecaster.
93%.
Yeah,
of the time.
probably.
Maybe 98% of the time.
But then the Junior comes out, the Les Paul comes out.
Yeah.
Because they're such great guitars. I'd love to play them more. It's really interesting because I take the Les Paul home from time to time, and because I try and practice every day, and I love practicing with the Les Paul. There's something very grown up about a Les Paul as opposed to Telecaster. It just feels like, because it's all,
Posh.
It does. It feels like a really posh guitar.
Someone else's guitar.
That's the thing, though, isn't it? It's a, Les Paul, a Gibson style thing. It is the whole instrument. It's something that's, with, tellies and things. You can yourself quite easily get parts and make one.
Make ones, yeah. Can't do that with Les Paul.
You can't do that with a Les Paul or a 335 or anything like that. It's It's a different thing.
Are you feeling like that with your new 335? Do you look at it and go, wow, this is a grown-up's guitar?
Yeah, I keep looking at it and just, it's like this massive imposter syndrome of like, what's this? When am I going to give it back to the customer? Yeah.
Nice.
But it's you do feel like that, and then, but then it's one of those guitars I picked when the guy gave it to me, and I couldn't let it out of my grasp. It's the same when you were here and that Echo machine was here.
Yeah.
And I looked at George and went, we can't let this. It was only here for a demo. It's like, I can't let this go back. It just sounds so good. And
so I was here and the Echo Fix turned up.
Oh yeah, okay.
And he goes, "Oh, I want to hear this." And I just don't. Don't do it.
And I'd also just bought myself an AC4. So I was sat over there with like the Equix and the AC4 there. It's playing. I can't remember what guitar I was playing, but it was just all of these sounds that I'd been hearing for all my life.
Because unless you've played a real tape delay,
yeah.
Because Matt's like, I just want to check it out when I hear it, and I'm like, are you sure? Because you can't unhear it.
I say that when anyone wants to hear the CXM.
Yeah.
Don't.
Yeah. And he's like, I'm like, hey, okay, here we go. Turned it on, and it's like, you could just
might have teared up a little bit.
Yeah,
it was one of those.
Amazing. Yes, it's so great.
Joe Halliday from Hello Sailor Effects.
Hey,
Hi,
buddy.
Joe. It's really good to hear from you, buddy. He says, "Hello, guys. I hope you're well. We are. Thank you." He says, "One for Matt. I've just got a set of your underspun PAFs for my Burst replica, and I can't wait to try them. Your original PAFs are amazing. What made you venture into the land of low output pickups or low output PAFs?"
Lower. I mean, the original PAFs with it. That's like the best. They're a sonic reproduction of the best PAFs I've heard. That's where that whole thing came from, and then once you sit with a recipe and you the same as you find ways of adjusting things to make them not necessarily better, but do it something a little bit different. I wanted.
See, this is something about what you do. You will find a specific set. It's like with the wide range humbuckers.
Mm-hmm.
A specific set came in that you went, these sound amazing. I'm going to find out what makes these tick.
Yeah.
And you will chase that sound as opposed to, this is the way they made them.
Mm-hmm.
So if I make them exactly the same way, they should sound the same.
Yeah. You can't do that. There's no way. I mean, and also what I've got in these books up there is stats of ones that don't sound great.
Right.
People who've gone, I spent $4,000 on this pickup and plumb it in, and it's it's not, doesn't blow you away. It's just like, well, why doesn't it? And then you find that out, and then when you've got all of these things, you can kind of eliminate stuff. It's like you were saying earlier. It's like getting rid of the thought. It's just and that's it. And I wanted with the low wines, I wanted something that was more chimey, less, would push an amp even less, let it breathe even more. And it was, how can you do that? And it was mucking about, finding things out, and it's the other really cool thing is with the people that I'm lucky enough to work with here. Most of them aren't guitar players, right. So they'll put ideas out which I wouldn't have thought of. Yeah, it's like, why don't we do it this way? Why don't we try this? And it's just like, try it. And then you put those together and you end up with this thing that is super, super nice. And the low wind paths, originally, the first thing that I heard, actually, it's going back to Paul Stacey. He had, he has the guitar now. It's a black 60, it's Les Paul Custom. But he bought off a guy called Luke Potashnik.
Oh yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Amazing guitar.
Yeah,
player.
Amazing.
He did Gabriel Laplin's first record, didn't he? I think so. Guitar on it.
Yeah. It was also a band called Rooster.
Rooster.
Among tons of other things. Yeah.
And again, just really nice as well. So it's like, why, just be an arse. But he had this thing. I think he was selling it to Terry Britton, or Terry had it in to look at, or something along those lines, and it ended up on my bench. And it's so clear, so chimey. The bridge pickup again is, in that one, is lower than, like, resistance wise is weaker than the neck. Again, all those aren't complete guides, but it was chasing that kind of tone. You know, it's that thing when you can plug it into a little 5 watt. It's one of those 5 watt. It's Epiphone Junior things that they came out with. I have one of those as my bench amp, and it was one of the few guitars you plug into it fully up, and it would be amazing, really bright, and you could hear everything, and it wasn't farting.
Yeah, okay.
You know, it's those kind of things, and you're honing your, when you're honing your sound and all that kind of stuff, you want PAF type tones, but then what exactly, where do you want to go with those?
Sure.
So it's the 0.111.0001%, and that's you're dialing in there. Sorry, I went off on a bit of a long one there, but
no, it's great. It's just the inspiration, isn't it?
Mm.
And who is buying those pickups then? Or who are you recommending them to?
It's that's a combination. Lots of people already have PAFs, or and they want something. They've either got a smaller amp, or they're looking for something again less gainy, more single coily. Less steroided up Telecaster, that kind of thing.
Sure.
But it's amazing, and again you can go the other way. It's like something a bit more beefy, which we're getting asked for. But for people, a lot of that is people who have the amps that are a little bit bigger. So your 50 watt things, your 30 watt things that can take a little bit more into the front end without crapping out. It's that kind of so it's balancing it all. Fun, cool. Very geeky.
Nice. Thank you for that, Joe. Dash Cole, no question from you. If there is one and we've missed it, we'll pick it up next week. Mike2203 again, he says, any thoughts on the new Marshall JTM amp this week? It sure looks cool in the old Marshall styling. We talked about that a bit earlier.
I have to get one and try it out.
Before we knew this thing coming. If Bookovac likes it, and everything I've heard so far, it's like, actually, that does sound really good. Made in England as well.
Oh, nice.
I mean, not that necessarily should make any difference, but they've talked about, they've really kind of made a big effort on it, and actually pretty decent price for Made in England too.
Wow.
I think it's 800 and some quid.
Really?
Yeah.
Just for a head?
Yeah. You would expect it to be more than that.
Absolutely.
Made in England, but so we're looking forward to hearing that, Mike. No doubt you'll be interested to hear it too. Mike's a massive Marshall fan. Got loads of Marshalls. David Weir, hello David. He says, there's so much great looking gear these days, but what is the most aesthetically terrible piece of gear you've loved in spite of its hideousness? So what looks crap but you've loved it?
Ooh.
This is politically difficult, this question.
I've got a JMP Mark II Marshall, which has been modded heavily. So it's got like a Soldano preamp gain stage in it and lots of other bits. But it was painted badly, like a letterbox red.
Actually just painted?
Yeah. Literally, so it's bits falling, it's like, so you can see the black underneath, and then at one
Is George
point,
hoovering?
No, well, he's got to clean his beard. But I also, my infinite wisdom, I put signs on it. I got it's like an air raid shelter sign, or some stupid stickers on it.
Are you aware you're hiding your face down?
I'm sorry.
I'm getting messages about it.
Okay.
Yeah, so it looks pretty.
On my face.
Yeah, sorry. No. Yeah, it's a beautiful face, Daniel. But yeah, so that's kind of it's like my adolescent anger amp.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like, but I love it.
So hideous by virtue of a terrible paint job.
Terrible paint job. That wasn't my fault. All of the other additions are my fault.
Daniel.
My 1959 Vox AC10 Twin, I saw the corner of it. Gentleman used to build fly cases for us, and I saw this fawn corner set out underneath an old workbench of his, covered with crap. that isn't, is it? And I started removing some of the junk around it, and it was sat there. And it's ripped to shreds. It just looks awful. But I love it. So the grill cloth is completely shredded, but I'm resisting the urge to replace it. I've tried to sew it up, to darn it the best I can.
It looks like Frankenstein.
And it just looks horrific. But it's the most amazing sounding thing.
It's hard to say, isn't it? Because what one person thinks looks amazing, someone else thinks looks awful.
The ding on red here on the shoulder.
Yeah, it looks great to me, but it's too painful for you. Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think of, try not to offend anybody, but there are, like, I think analog man pedals look not great.
Right.
I think, yeah. So, King of Tone. Also, partly because I've had to photograph it so many times, and the purple does not photograph.
Oh wow!
It's almost impossible to photograph that purple.
Right.
So there you go. That's my controversial.
There you go.
And any guitar with a polyester finish. Let's move along. Gareth Johnson is last on.
Hey, buddy.
Our mutual friend Gareth. He says, "Evening to three of my favourites. What's the best low wattage studio amp I don't already have?" And to even think you don't actually own something, Gareth, is beyond belief. In 2023, what about a Cornford Harlequin as a used bargain? And Matt, tell him about the Bill Steers Love Bomb for Life.
What's the Gibson Night? Oh, what's it called? The old Gibson, like a little 5-watt star.
GA, something?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'll have a look.
Okay, low wattage studio amp you don't already own.
He's got.
I bet he's got all the Audio Kitchen stuff, hasn't he?
Yeah. He's got all of that. He's got all of like the, what's the one, the Falcon and Tone King.
Yeah.
Skylark.
Okay.
Gibson Skylark.
Gibson Skylark.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with
they're amazing.
Yeah,
a
really
modded,
good.
converted, and I bet you've already got one, Bell and Howarth or whatever they were called.
Ah, yeah.
The cinema projection amp. That's what I'm going to go with. But I bet you've got one.
Yeah. I can't think.
The is it 386? It's the pedal that Walrus make the version of it of. Bell and Howell, is it?
Yeah.
I bet you've got one. Gareth. 385 overdrive. Bell and Howell 385 cinema projector amp. There you go. So that's what I'm going to say.
Beautiful.
They look really cool.
Closely associated with Blake Mills, which you may know. Of course you know, Gareth.
He's Mr. Knowledge.
Okay.
Knowledge.
I think that brings us to a close. Sorry, we've gone way over tonight. Selma Little Giant says Scotty's Life. Yeah, nice. Skylark says Reeves Electro. Yeah, we got there in the end, didn't we? Good. Okay. Tyler Guitar says Guitar Tone Pro, worst headstock ever.
But I love them.
I loved it too.
Do you know it's that?
Is that what it is?
Yeah, that's what I was told. Yes, it's a whole like.
Same as McMull. People say the McMull headstock is just ugly, and I love that.
See, I couldn't get on board with that. It felt to me like a amazing guitar, but you know those project guitars that says you can cut the headstock shape into anything you want.
It
just didn't
I loved
cut
it.
it.
I really loved it. I love the kind of. There's no point trying to do this. Let's just not try.
Yeah. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Good. All right. That's us. Matt, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. It's been much fun.
I'm sorry we picked up so many questions from last week and we didn't have loads of new questions. Hopefully we got some interesting questions in for Matt there. We should do this again, Dan.
Indeed.
Yeah.
As long as it wasn't too much of a...
Here, elsewhere, and in other places. Got the rig sorted out, apart from the notifications. Sorry about that. That's, you do learn something every time.
Succeed or not.
And if you want to see how we did this today, check out our Instagram. And I did a 1-minute version of how we roll.
It's really impressive.
Really cool.
What we need is a slightly bigger Schmidt array so that the laptop and the switcher and the UA can go in one pedal board.
That would be amazing.
That'd be very cool.
That'd be killer,
Very
wouldn't it?
cool.
And
Some
then
dry ice
in the
with it.
lid of the Schmidt array is another monitor, because I had to carry that monitor around. Anyway, that's enough about that. Thanks again, Matt. Please join us on Friday on that pedal show for whatever that turns out to be. It'll either be a Strat vibrato setup video or more old crap we still love. Fair?
Beautiful.
And then there'll be some quietness from us in the second half of August as we take some time off to have some time off.
Well deserved.
Daniel, thank you everyone. Thanks to BV. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you. We won't see you next Monday, I don't think. TBC. Play us out, Dan. Oh, he likes to see stuff. Dan is currently playing a C minor 7 flat 7 sharp 6 15 chord.